am a leader you shouldn't follow. Hard to keep up with the wild desperado. Taking curves at 80 miles an hour plus. Engine block scraping, making asphalt. Metallic horse gallop in a hillside. Bicycle from the tree, shaking as we all roll by. Moss on my roof, but only on the south side. Marks on my boots, I'm scooting through my outline. I am the leader you shouldn't follow. Hard to keep up with the wild desperado. Hard to keep up with the wild desperado. Don't try to keep up with me. I live on the edge, too thin to see. I was earth gonna be a backwoods seed. On my back is where the word backwoods be. Because the backwoods never turned its back on me. Heart of a small town, roots of the home team. Ride through the city like I don't sing. Rugged old Chevy and a stained white tee. I am a leader you shouldn't follow. Hard to keep up with the wild desperado. Taking curves at 80 miles an hour plus. Engine block scraping, making asphalt. Metallic horse gallop in a hillside. Bicycle from the tree, shaking as we all roll by. Moss on my roof, but only on the south side. Marks on my boots, I'm scooting through my outline. I am the leader you shouldn't follow. Hard to keep up with the wild desperado. Hard to keep up with the wild desperado. I'm a big brother, I'm a older cousin, I'm a redneck from the south, I'm a rapper, I sing country. Always two forms of buzzing when taking pictures in public. I think Waylon will be proud and Biggie Smalls will think it's stuffing, motherfucker. Catch me cruising mid-10 road, sleeping on the windshield from radar up on the 5-0. Catch me downtown wild on the rooftop, winter circle shit, spraying something with a cork top. I know where I'm going without knowing where I'm going. Alien mind glowing, regular say mind blowing. Wind in my head cause the winning road keeps flowing. I'm one of a couple writing musical components. I am a leader you shouldn't follow. Hard to keep up with the wild desperado. Taking curves at 80 miles an hour plus. Engine block scraping, making asphalt dust. Metallic horse gallop in a hillside. Bicycle from the tree, shaking as we all roll by. Moss on my roof, but only on the south side. Marks on my boots, I'm scooting through my outline. I am the leader you shouldn't follow. Hard to keep up with the wild desperado. Hard to keep up with the wild desperado. Hard to keep up with a wild desperado.
Hello, hello, hello. Can y'all hear me good? Star Mama, it's so good to see you. Running Bear, hey, love. I love me some Up Church too. Jay, hey, bro. Stephanie. Let's see who else. Robin, hey, love. All my love. Chicken Lady. You hear me good, deal. Star Mama, I seen that. I think I want to go over that a little bit. 'Cause it's crazy, man. Thank you, Running Bear. Thank Eve. Hey, love. How are y'all doing? I usually don't go late, and Lord, y'all, I didn't get up till late today. I don't know what the hell happened to me. I guess my body needed it. I got up at like 2 o'clock. I'm like, what the fuck? People are going nuts everywhere, man. It's like parades, churches, schools. It's crazy, man. That's why I don't like going many places. Sorry, y'all. I might have to mute and stuff still because I be fucking coughing and at least I'm coughing finally. Get this shit up. Thank you. I'm glad you got some rest too, J Love. Will you come and be my bodyguard? They were saying, "Get up, mom." I think that's what woke me up, I do. My little red girl, the one's in the picture with me, she will, yeah. Man, I woke up and I'm like, "What the hell?" 'Cause usually I get up fairly early, 8, 9 o'clock. How's grandma doing, Jay? When you coming back to the States? When she's better? Or you don't have to say if it's too personal. Happy Valentine's Day. Yes, Eve. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Even if you don't have a spouse, partner, or whatever, you still got yourself to love. And never forget to love yourself. Did y'all see where I know some of you did, where Upchurch is gonna be a daddy? I just think that is just the best thing. I just love it. I'm so happy for him. There's him little baby. Look. Oh, he's so happy. He is so happy. I'm so happy for him and Beth. That's right. It's our mama's self-love comes first. You sang for her? Tomorrow on our phone call, Jay, you gotta sing for me. Yeah. When you learn to love yourself, it's a whole different world. Oh, that's awesome. I have a nephew. I don't never get to see him. He lives in Minnesota, but you're gonna sing for me? Okay. I cannot carry a tune in a 5-gallon bucket. I don't no, I can't sing. But when I'm in the car jamming, I think I can sing. It is time for him to be happy, and he is so happy that he's gonna be a daddy. And I'm so glad that him and Beth got back together because you could just tell that they truly were in love and love each other, and I'm so happy for him. He better marry that girl. It's like everybody's life. Oh, the same shit. It's like there's more stuff you need to talk about, put awareness to in this world, man. There was something. I'm looking here. I want to talk about the church shooting too, and then the parade thing happened, and it's like, oh my God, it's time for everyone to be happy. It is. It really is. Eve, I'm so sorry, love. I am so sorry for your loss. Yeah, Jay, I don't that's what I like to talk about, the real shit that's going on, and like I do want to talk about the border crisis tonight. I didn't get to talk about it much last night, and there's still some crazy let's start off with that. There's some crazy shit going on in New York with immigrants, illegals. You're welcome, Eve. I know it's mind blowing, isn't it, Random Bear, when you actually look and see what's really going on, the stuff that they try to keep from us. Okay, let's see here. This is only one. That's why I don't wanna be monetized either, because then I can't talk about a lot of this stuff, you know? This is what I'm interested in, and I'm just gonna play a few little things from, about the New York stuff, and then we'll get to some Texas stuff, and the borders are in a mess, Eve. We're getting invaded. It's more than a mess, it's an invasion. I agree, Jay, with the asylum, I agree. Georgia sent their National Guard, so did Florida. Okay, let's watch this little bit about the US citizens are blocking buses and stuff for the immigrants now or whatever, and I don't blame them. It's time to stand up, you know?
Residents are blocking a bus that's carrying migrants. This is happening on Father Capodanno Boulevard and Midland Avenue in Midland Beach. Several police units were called in to respond to the crowds blocking traffic.
The buses that arrived overnight at Port Authority, part of a new uptick that has even those in charge struggling to keep track of how many asylum seekers arrived in the past week.
Do you understand that we're in the middle of a surge right now? Let me start with the numbers. Last week, I think my notes say 3,800, but I think it was more like 4,000 people that we got last week, which is kind of insane when you think about what these numbers are.
The numbers include 14 buses arriving in one night, a record since the crisis began. 7,200 asylum seekers in the past 2 weeks, and 68,000 migrants currently in city shelters.
The city is experiencing a significant increase in the number of migrants arriving from late 2023 until now. Over 7,000 migrants have arrived in the last 2 weeks, with more expected as a new caravan approaches the border. Mayor Eric Adams has announced a new executive order aimed at restricting the arrival of buses carrying migrants. The order stipulates that buses can only arrive between 8:30 in the morning and noon at Port Authority, with fines imposed for non-compliance. The surge in arrivals has led to challenges in tracking the numbers, with a record 14 buses arriving in one night. In the past 2 weeks alone, 7,200 asylum seekers have arrived, adding to the 68,000 migrants currently in city shelters. Mayor Adams emphasized the need for federal government intervention in handling the humanitarian crisis, calling for leadership in addressing the situation.
The federal government must take responsibility and lead on this humanitarian crisis instead of leaving it for cities and localities to handle.
Mayor Eric Adams holding a virtual briefing this afternoon with the mayors of Denver and Chicago.
As buses continue to arrive in the city of Chicago and all over the country, the type of chaos that has been administered has left many of our local economies under a tremendous amount of duress.
The surge is expected to continue, with a new caravan of thousands, making its way towards the United States from countries like
Star Mama, I was trying to find it. I watched it the other day. They had this. It was like a hotel apartment complex building for veterans, U.S. veterans that they stayed in. You know, to keep them from being homeless and stuff. And they kicked them all out and let the immigrants there. They kicked them out. Our own people. It's fucked up.
Honduras and Guatemala. New York City remains legally obligated to provide shelter for anyone arriving in need, with a new 40-bed shelter set to open in Gowanus, Brooklyn.
All options are on the table, and yes, one of those options includes a new shelter here on Staten Island.
Instead of leaving it for cities and localities to handle.
We start tonight with New York City at a potential breaking point. We have been following the story, as you know, for months.
Advocates for asylum seekers agreed that more should be done at the federal and state levels to address the crisis. Meanwhile, the city has implemented fines and potential impoundment of buses as a deterrent to the influx of migrants.
10 people were arrested, taken into police custody because they were protesting a new migrant shelter at a former senior living facility on their borough. Briella Tomasetti has more from Midland Beach. I mean, things are starting to get a little disruptive in almost every borough. They don't want them there anymore.
More mayhem on Staten Island during yet another night of intense protests. Police from the NYPD's 122nd precinct were called to Father Capodanno Boulevard for reports of crowd control issues after demonstrators blocked a city bus thought to be carrying asylum seekers. 10 people were taken into custody. 9 of them were given summonses for disorderly conduct, and the 10th person, a 48-year-old man, is still awaiting potential charges. What provoked these protests? Well, according to SILive.com, a former senior living facility in Midland Beach is the latest migrant shelter to open in the city. Plans to house asylum seekers on Staten Island have drawn fierce pushback from neighbors and lawmakers. Just last month, the borough was at the helm of the city's migrant crisis when St. John Villa Academy, a former Catholic school, was transformed into a 300-bed makeshift shelter. Mayor Adams has slammed the federal government for its lack of help on the issue and says New York City is carrying the weight of a national problem.
I'm very public. Everybody knows who I am. You guys know where I am all the time. We'll release if we're going to be with the president or not.
But there was no mention of a meeting with President Biden on the mayor's schedule yesterday. White House aides also confirmed there was nothing on the agenda. Biden's schedule for today includes more meetings and campaigning before heading back to Washington.
I spoke to the president earlier this year and shared our concerns. Both the governor was also communicated with him. And
You know what? Maybe New York shouldn't have treated Trump the way they did. Trump might have been there helping them, but they treated him like complete fucking dog shit. Y'all remember that?
Yeah. I mean, it shows, I mean, he did a lot for the city, in terms of bringing construction.
And look, now
in.
that he quit, look what's going on.
Yeah, it's fucked. There's no easy access to kind of those manual jobs anymore. So
you need somebody like Trump that's got balls that's going to go in there, and fight it head on and not give a fuck what anybody says. You know what I'm saying? And look how they done him. Because look, Trump went to East Palestine. The train derailment that happened. Biden didn't even go. He went to Ukraine.
Yeah, that says a lot. You know what I mean? It's like he's more interested in things that are happening and being freaking Mr. Internationalist when
And then the real problem that's going on in his
there's
own
enough
country.
problems at home that should be dealt with first, And it's like, I remember a few years ago, Gary Johnson, who was like a Libertarian Party candidate, they asked him on CNN about what he'd do about Aleppo. And he was like, where's Aleppo? It's in Syria. And I was like, but that's the point, though. You shouldn't give a fuck about Aleppo. There's enough shit going on in places in America, you know what I mean, that need to be dealt with first. And that's what
Running Bear, yes, we need Trump more than we've ever needed any president in history. Seriously. We need Trump. And not just because I'm a huge Trump fan, but because I see who Trump is and what he does. And I don't know how to say it. He's one of us. He's one of us. He's not.
He's a gambler like me.
Yeah, and he's a fighter, and he's healthy. He don't look. I mean, there's just so much. And like I said before, Trump became president. When he first became president in 2016, I was like, oh, fuck, this dude. You know what I'm saying? I never liked him. And then after I started seeing, hey, man, yeah, fuck yeah, Trump, go, buddy. And now, even my fish is named after Trump.
Exactly. I mean, he's certainly in my ballpark. It's just I would take a lot of the things he did and does and believes in quite a lot further. That's all. That's just the difference, essentially. And yes, his arm was twisted in some situations, like with the guns because of the shootings. But I have faith that if he got in again, that wouldn't happen because he needs
it wasn't
that
as bad
lobby.
when he was in. It's worse now than it's ever been.
Exactly, that shows you. It shows
Look, we've
you.
had
in
two
California.
We've had 2 in 2 days, Jay.
Exactly.
The
You look
parade
at
and the church.
but the parade in the church, and the church was done by a freaking migrant who wasn't a citizen, who shouldn't have even been able to legally buy those guns anyway. So with their gun control, you know, what difference would that have made to the shooting? It didn't make any. He still got
Just
the
like
gun.
a drug addict, they're going to get the guns regardless.
Exactly, they're going to get the drugs regardless, or the guns regardless. It's like in the UK where there's stringent gun laws. There was recently a shooting in Liverpool where the guy was firing an AK-47 at a movie theatre and at various stores. Didn't kill anyone, didn't even hit anyone. But I think it was just more of a mental health breakdown, and he was trying to get attention, and like maybe.
And then here comes our mental health crisis. It's the whole world.
Yeah, maybe
And
suicide
nobody
by
seems to give
cop.
a fuck, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And maybe it was suicide by cop, but the reality is, you know, you can't legally own an AK in the UK, and to buy one illegally would cost upwards of like $5,000 or something like that.
All you gotta do is go find a drug dealer or somebody that, you know, sells serial numbers and shit. You know, you're gonna get it. It's gonna cause more violence.
You can get it from obviously Euroguns on the deep web, but what I personally think he did was that I think he got a decommissioned AK-47 and simply put in a barrel so that it would fire, because the ones that were decommissioned prior to the 80s are very easy, or the early 90s, are very easily recommissioned into a live firer. Same with the Uzis as well, and the MAC-10s and the Scorpion submachine guns. Those are guns that are regularly used.
Kind of
on
like
the streets.
totaling out a car, wrecking a car, and then rebuilding it. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
I like
all the
comparing
parts are
stuff
there.
where I can understand, because I'm a little dumb, you know, so I compare stuff like this. It's like
No, it makes sense.
yeah.
I compare stuff. I make comparisons. Like when I've been learning Spanish, I just make comparisons like with words, like words that kind of sound like the English equivalent, or words that
You're good, Running Bear.
Yeah, are kind of similar. You know what I mean to that.
Yeah, you got to do it for yourself, and then it helps, you know, the people you're talking to too. You know, because like I do talk about some stuff, and some people's like, "What?" And then I'm hillbilly too, you know, so sometimes my accent, and I'll say stuff that people don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like you get it.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's exactly it. And you get misunderstood because people don't understand your accent, because we're not freaking, you know, we're not from, you know, these mainstream places. We're from a kind of out of all the Americans on here in this community, our culture is an obscure one. We're in the minority, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's obvious that we are going to be misunderstood, you know what I mean? But
And
it's
you know,
not
like
on us.
Southern people are a lot like British people, in my opinion.
I think Southerners are more like, I guess, more like Northern English people or Irish and Scottish people, because in England, it's the South that is fancy, where the capital city is in London. That's the South, but the North is where the poor people are. But the industry is like in America, the industry is in the South and originated in the South. You know what I mean?
Ain't like the biggest one. I don't know where it's at, but like Black Country, and isn't it kind of wealthy or was or something?
I don't know where that is.
Birmingham, Black Country.
Well, yeah, that's the Midlands. That's like, I guess it's still, you know, it's still the North-ish, but it's like, it's I guess it's just as, you know, impoverished as it's just as working class as Liverpool or Manchester
See,
is.
it's kind of opposite here, because the South is more of the poorish. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I understand it. Obviously, there's places in Arkansas and places like that I've seen on like Moonshiners, that TV show, you know. And
go to Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia. That's the real Moonshiners. And
yeah, I've seen places like that, and I've seen from different documentaries and stuff about the area, about the Appalachia Trail and other places like that. The places around.
Have you watched one about Popcorn Sutton?
Oh, I know Popcorn Sutton. Yeah, I know him. I know Jim. I know all of that. I know all the Moonshiners. It's become something of a passion of mine, and it's funny because I it's obvious that I'm not fully Irish. There's Scottish in me because I don't like pochine, which is like Irish moonshine, which is potato-based moonshine. I like corn liquor, which is its Scottish origin. You know what I mean? That is the main moonshine made in the south of America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Corn liquor. You know what I mean? I like the White Lightning. I like apple pie flavored as well.
See, I don't like stuff like that. I don't like barley taste. You know what I'm talking about? That barley. I don't know. It's weird
It's
to me.
weird because I like that. I do.
I
It's got-
don't. I don't like that. I like rum. If I do drink, I hardly ever drink or
I like
fruity drinks.
rum.
You know.
I like bathroom. I like bathtub gin as well. You know, like homemade stuff. I like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
my family used to make wine, and at Christmas, you know, like our uncle, he would let all of us kids taste it. You know what I mean? And not like they was getting us drunk, but you know what I mean. Yeah, everybody they'd give all of us kids a little taste, and because I have a big family, you know, we had
Yeah.
family. I don't know. It's just different where I'm from, and
I mean, it's like that where I'm from as well. You know.
because like some
Hello?
of the stuff the way I was raised, you know, people would be like, "What the fuck," you know.
Yeah. Can you
But that's
still
just
hear
how
me?
I was raised, and I don't regret it because I had an amazing childhood. I love the morals of my upbringing, you know, and I don't regret
Can you
it.
still hear me over here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Sorry, yeah, I just took my headphones out, and in the past, on StreamYards, it's like it's cut me off and made me like mute
That
and
happens
shit.
to me
So
all the time. Like mine will die, and then I'll come back, you know, and be like, "Can you?" Yeah, mine
yeah,
does
but
that.
yeah, it seems like it's working. But yeah, like it's because where I come from, like in Ireland and the UK, it's like you can drink with parental like supervision at 5 years old. So like,
You
yeah,
can do that in Wisconsin here, as long as you
really,
got someone 21 years old to go with you. Yes, because I used to work up there in Milwaukee, and it's true in Wisconsin. Yep. If you're not 21, you can, as long as you got an adult that will go in with you. Yep. It's the only
yeah.
state that I know of doing that. And I never knew it until I started working up there, you know, traveling. And I'm like, what? You know, it's like you can be 15 years old or whatever, you know, and as long as you got an adult that goes with you, sits down. And I seen it and I was like, wow. There might be other states like
I'd
that. I
take
don't
beers
know,
off
but
my parents and stuff, and my dad and stuff, and get them and stuff from a very young age. But the first time, like me and my friends really got drunk was I was probably 10.
oh, I love my teenage years, man. Out running around in high school, and oh, it's a wonder I'm alive.
Yeah, I did so much ecstasy and blow. My God.
And I'm glad there wasn't fucking social media, cell phones, nothing.
Oh, I
There's
had
no
social
evidence.
media.
You did? Oh yeah, you're a
Yeah, when
baby.
I was growing up, yeah.
We didn't even have cell phones or nothing, Jay. I remember when cell phones came a thing. It's crazy. And
Yeah,
it
it's
was
like
such
I
a
was
different
watching
world,
like
and I loved it. I missed it, and I'm glad that I got to experience, you know, not much of it, but of that generation. And I wish we could go back to that.
well, yeah, I guess you can if you go to like some freaking isolated island or country or something like that.
Like a third world country, maybe, or something. But
Yeah, go to like some like Polynesian island or something, or like Tahiti, like one of the Tahiti islands that's like dead remote. Because where they're gonna have a router
and
on a
pager. I
fucking
remember
coconut
when
tree.
they came out with pagers, Star Mom. I remember I had a few of those actually.
Oh yeah, do you remember faxing?
Yes.
I remember my town was so in the past that a business right close to my home had a fax line on it as well as part of its contact info. It'd have its number on the email and fax.
Yeah. I wish we could go back to them days. It was.
It's like all in the family. Those were the days. Like that's like I watched that show and I want things to be like that again. Like I actually
And like,
I go,
and there was big families back then, you know, and like my grandparents spent their whole life together, and there was never, you know, nobody else. You know what I'm saying? And on my mom's side, and my mom had 7 brothers and sisters, you know, and Sundays, all of us, and all of us kids would play hide and seek and kickball, and, just it was amazing. And I
Yeah.
wish kids these days could see that. And my own children are grown, and didn't even get to experience that life, and I hate it.
Well, I mean, I guess I did to an extent because we had a bunch of like abandoned buildings around my town. Still do, as far as I
See,
know.
I was born in the early 80s, so it was, a little different.
Yeah, so there was a load of
And I'm
abandoned
from the
buildings.
backwoods of Kentucky, and
Yeah, like abandoned buildings, and like we'd go in there and we'd like, we'd do
see,
like
we go in like
seances and
abandoned
shit.
barns. We, he's country kids, and
We'd do seances, and like we did this one once where we'd do like candle magic, and like we were in the basement.
I remember when that movie The Craft used to come out. Me and my cousins, we'd try to do that. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. I remember when we would do that. All of us girls.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
It don't work.
No, it don't. No.
But it was the good days.
Some idiots tried to pull that on me when I was on acid and ketamine, and it just didn't work. I just turned to them like, "You're a bunch of bloody idiots."
Oh my God! Was you on ketamine through the doctor or illegally?
No, illegally. I've never been prescribed it. I've just been
Because see, I have really bad mental health, and I've tried so much shit in my life to help it. And my doctor was talking, he's like, if this doesn't do anything, or we figure something out, they was gonna put me on that for my mental health.
You should.
And I wish I had it, but I've got stuff that works now. You know what I mean? They did get to the bottom of it, whatever. But if I had to, yes, because I've heard so many good things about it with mental health.
Exactly, and when it's done in a medical setting, it's totally
totally.
safe.
But I would never do it like because
Oh God,
but
no.
mental
you
health, yes,
shouldn't. Yeah.
It's changed people's lives. Everybody's like, don't do that shit. No, I've done my research. I talked to my doctor, and see, he's a holistic doctor too, and
Yeah, I've got one of them.
yeah, mine is, and he's amazing. And he's the one that found out I had ADHD. It's like, come on.
Yeah. My therapist is like a kind of holistic, kind of spiritualist kind of therapist type of thing, like not like a Freudian one,
Well, see, I have a therapist too. It's a lady though; she's different. But this is like my main doctor that gives me my medicine and stuff, because they won't let like somebody you go in and talk to prescribe my medicine for some reason.
They used to give me diazepam, but they realized I was addicted to it and abusing it.
Yeah, that's just horrible.
Yeah, because I had it for insomnia, and then they realized that, marijuana would probably just be better than
Seroquel. I take
diazepam.
Seroquel. That shit'll knock you out. But I take Seroquel to sleep. It helps my appetite, and it helps my mental health. Like, it works.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you is good. You know what I mean? I'm not one of these people who's like, you've got to do it this way. It's like everyone's different.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everyone's bodies and chemical makeup's different.
Your pain doctor does it for mental health. You talking about ketamine, Star Mama, ketamine? People say it different.
I remember I took it when last time I took it, I was back in the UK, I was in town, and it was in the middle of the day, and like there was a bunch of people around as well. I didn't take it in front of everyone, I did it around the corner, but like we were walking in the store and then it started kicking in. I was there with me and my friend, and then we sat on the benches, and these 2 old women came up and then spoke to my friend. He told me afterwards, and I sort of knew what was going on as I was there, kind of. I was out of it, and then I was just totally monged, spasticated on the bench, and was like totally out of it. and then the women were like, "Oh, should we call like an ambulance or something?" It's like, no. My mate was like, "No. He's having the best time of his life. You don't want to ruin it. You know what I mean? It's like you don't want to be calling ambulances and stuff like that." And it's like, exactly. Like, I came out of it like I was able to walk away from the bench and get up and everything on my own. I didn't need any freaking help. I came out of it about half an hour later, and then just felt really good for the rest of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Star Mama says she got it when her husband passed, and it's like Valium. See, with ketamine, don't you have to be on it like for the rest of your life, kind of? You know what I mean? It's like, and the doctor has to do it and give it to you. It's not like you can. Isn't it shots or something or?
Yeah, because it's liquid. In the medical
Yeah.
form, it's liquid, but in the recreational form, I did it in a powder.
Yeah, because the doctor, he's like, if you do this though, he said, and it does work, you have to kind of commit to it for the rest of your life,
Because if you
or
do it in powder form, it can cause urethra problems.
I would
but-
totally want to go to the doctor and let them do it. I would, because
Yeah.
I know it's very dangerous too, but I heard it really, really is tried and proven for mental health, and I wish more people could get that out. I might do a live on that, on ketamine and stuff.
You should do a live on it where like you research it and stuff and like talk about it and
The
like
pros and cons, and because this time I took my mental health serious when I went to get help, because I'm fucking 41 years old. I'm tired, of the past. It's not just my mental health, but it plays a part in it, and nothing ever changes if you never change it.
I agree. It's like a dirty plate. Like you can put it back in the the cupboard, the cabinet, but it ain't gonna clean itself. You've got to physically take it out and do it. You know what I mean? That's me using an analogy like you do.
I use analogy all the time. I love it. Yeah, I get it. It's like,
Yeah, I was watching this movie the other day and it was so bad. Have you ever heard of The Room?
No.
God, it's got Tommy was showing it, this guy, and he's like this. He came out of nowhere, and like no one knows where he comes from and stuff. And like he got all this money from a film out of nowhere, and like had never done anything in entertainment before. And like the rumor is that some big celebrity like hit him with the car, and then he got the money from the settlement, and it inspired him to like go into the film industry. And like the movie's like terrible. It's like what a foreign person thinks America is like, basically. They think that like in the film, in the movie, like the guys like are throwing footballs to each other in tuxedos, like in between shit that happens. Like
I think people that's over in England, the UK and stuff, that's never been over here, they really have no idea what America's like.
Well, yeah, because it's like a lot of them think that it's like every high school party there's a band
and
playing.
It's like the American dream fucks it up, what people think about it, because it's not the American dream anymore. Yeah, the only good thing is money. Money is very easy to get here.
Civil
if you really
liberties as well, to a degree.
I mean, but everything else, it's not. I don't know. We've never really had freedom. We have to a point, but not really. If that, you know what I mean?
Sorry.
I just got done smoking. I know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think freedom, I guess the right to bear arms is like...
And they're trying to take that from people, though,
Yeah. We're not going to let them. I recently got a T-shirt that said, freedom, it has a nice recoil to it. And it's a picture of the USA flag with the Glock in the middle.
Oh, hell. Yeah, they can't take these guns away. They can't do it. It's going to make it worse if they do. And it's not fair. That's our constitutional right, Why change that? Why are they trying to change all this shit?
Because they don't want America to be a
like the
republic
Robert
anymore.
E. Lee statue, the rebel flag, well, Confederate flag, as a lot
The
of people
General
know,
Lee.
Why? Why are they doing this shit? Leave
They don't
history
take down
alone, man. Because that's
Abraham
what's
Lincoln.
made the South.
Yeah, and the
People are
thing
too
is
fucking
about Abraham
sensitive and-
Lincoln. The thing is about Abraham Lincoln. He wanted, after the Civil War, to send all the black people in America back to Africa. So he's not some hero to black people, and shouldn't be, because he was advocating for them to be deported en masse back to Africa, specifically to Liberia, which was a country that America had acquired in the 1800s for that purpose. So yeah, that's history that's conveniently not told,
Leave history alone. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Just don't be so fucking sensitive. We went all these years without sensitive motherfuckers,
But yeah, exactly. I don't understand why the freaking battle flag is offensive, because like, what about the Dukes of
And
Hazzard?
see, we call it, a lot of Southerners, like, especially like Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, we call it the rebel flag.
I
And
call it the rebel flag as well. I call it either.
that's what we've always called it. Some people don't know what that means if you say it. Some people knows what it means, but think you're trying to be racist with it. No, that's just what I grew up on, and you're not going to change what I grew up on my history where I lived it.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like my dad,
it's
he lives
wrong
in
to
Southern
erase
Alabama, and
people's
he's flagpole.
culture.
He has an American flag and a rebel flag. But he lives in Southern Alabama, and nobody thinks twice about it. Because everybody's flying them down there. It's part of fucking history, man. The South,
Yeah.
I love Southerners,
And the Civil War was about states' rights. It's the same shit that's going on right now in Texas with the border. It's that shit. That's what it was fought over. It was fought so that the southern states would have the rights to make decisions, you know what I mean, that they were entitled to in the Constitution. Slavery was already done and over with. The idea that that was the basis of the Civil War is such a lie, because if the Confederacy would have won, the main trading partner would have been Britain, and Britain wouldn't have traded with them if they'd have carried on with the slavery. So that was already over and done with. The fight was for the rights of the southern states to have self-determination and to set their own course, because they are different and are different than the North culturally, in many,
we're
many,
different
many
in the
ways.
whole country.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been literally all over this country traveling for work the last 10 years. I've met some amazing people. Some of my bestest friends are in California. There's amazing people, but I have never met people as amazing as Southerners. And I say shit wrong. Does that make sense?
Well, they're genuine, you know what I mean? And they are your people, you know what I mean? So it's like, of course, I'd be concerned if you didn't feel that, and I'd be sad if you didn't feel that, pride and
plus,
allegiance.
Southerners are the best cooks in America.
Oh, I agree there. I agree there. I think Cajuns are probably the best because they're Southerners.
Yeah, but that's different. I'd rather have my kind of Southern than Cajun. And I also think New York has the best for Italian food.
Without
Hands
a
down.
doubt.
Yeah, they get that part. Yes, Italian, New York, hands down, is the best in the country. And you don't understand real New York pizza until you have real New York pizza, and it's fucking bomb.
And San Francisco has the best Chinese food.
See, I didn't like no food in California, none. I ate at chain restaurants, McDonald's and Pizza Hut. I hated California food. Sorry.
I'm not over
I
the
love
moon
Mexican
about it
food, but that
myself.
Mexican food was different. You go in there and they got like fried chicken wings and shit. I'm like, what? No Chinese. What is it? Chinese? It's Chinese food. And I don't know. But like the Mexican food out there, I didn't like, but it's the real Mexican food, like. But I like, I guess, the more Americanized.
Yeah, because you're not used to it. It's like Indian food in the UK. It's like there's the type that they serve Europeans, and then there's the type that they serve their own. But I generally have asked for their own type of stuff in the past, and it is different. It's spicy, and they use different herbs and stuff. It's a lot less carb orientated. You know what I mean?
See, the South loves carbs. The South loves salt. The South loves sugar, and lard. And
I saw a Southern guy on this barbecue channel, and he got this alligator, and they were cooking it. And you know how when you have a pig, you put an apple in its mouth when you're cooking it. They put a full chicken inside the gator's mouth.
That's funny. Down where my dad lives, they have a festival every year, and you can get fried gator and stuff. It's pretty cool. I don't try it because I can't do that I don't do wild meat or nothing. And even though, I grew up with people cooking deer meat and stuff, I just couldn't do it.
It's weird. I actually prefer to eat like that for some reason. I guess I don't know. Like in terms of hunting, like I'm not into the idea of killing a deer, but I'd shoot a boar and I'd shoot pheasants and duck and things like that, and I'd kill fish. But like
Oh,
this is
my
only
son
out
is
of
a huge hunter. My oldest
yeah,
son, he's been in the Kentucky Children's Youth Wildlife Hunting book on the cover and stuff. He's won a four-wheeler and stuff from deer hunting, and
yeah.
but
My only
I
thing with
can't eat it.
I think the reason I haven't hunted deer is because I grew up in a place where there's so few of them that the times I
Where
have
I grew up,
encountered
you can
them,
look out your backyard and see them, you know.
yeah, because there's so many of them, I think that it would probably change my outlook of it. But yeah, I think they're very beautiful creatures. It's just with boar, I find
It's
them so
just different where
tasty.
I grew up, though, you know, with hunting. Like they hunt dove. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, people kill dove." Yeah, and they eat them,
Yeah, because they taste good.
you
You
know.
know,
And
it's
like my
also a sin
grandmother, my
because
family
it's
would
not
go ahead.
it's not like people in the south or people like me. You know what I mean? Because we're not the freaking elites. It's not like we're killing it for sick kicks. It's for food. It's a sin to kill something and not eat it.
You know, like where I grew up, nobody thinks twice, you know, about stuff like that. My grandmother, my mom's mom, I've seen her skin a rabbit,
Yeah.
literally, and eat it and cook it. Because like my family would hunt rabbits and squirrel, and like they would bring her squirrel. She would cook the head and like the whole head, and then she would take this pick, like you're picking nuts out of things. I'm talking about those nut picks. She had a hammer. She'd crack that skull open and dig the brains out and eat it of a squirrel.
Wow.
That's how I grew
I
up.
that's yeah. It's like the Waterboy movie, in it, like where like she like Kathy Bates is like his mother, like she prepares like a snake and like a bunch of other
Yeah.
like squirrel and stuff.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. I was like
Good
I
night,
was
High
with
Priestess. I love you.
I was with this high priestess. I was with this guy, and he was like a bit of a nomad, kind of a gypsy type of guy. And this isn't quite unusual, but he was hair coursing, and then he got a hedgehog, and he cooked it, and he made a stew out of it, and he gave it to me, and like we ate it, and like it was weird because it tasted like pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day, High Priestess, to you too. I love you. And yes, Star Mama, same way, you know, my family grew up like that. But I just never could eat wild meat. I can't do it.
What's your favorite meal, KKB?
Mexican.
Like burritos,
Not like real Mexican tacos.
real
I like
tacos. Yeah, yeah.
I like chorizo because I like spicy. I like enchiladas.
For me, it's
I
like it's
I like
either
hot stuff
Italian or
spicy, you
Indian.
know. And I like Italian. I do. I can eat me some Italian.
Yeah.
I love lasagna.
Yeah, I love calzone. I love lasagna. I love spaghetti, pizza,
Yeah, meatballs. I love meatballs.
meatballs,
I like Italian. Yeah, that would be like a second for me.
garlic bread. You know,
Garlic knots.
hell yeah.
Yeah, I like Italian.
Have you ever had a Nando's before?
No.
Yeah, they're like this, like they originate in South Africa, but they're like a peri chicken, like a spicy chicken place. There's not a lot of them in America, but there are some.
I
There's a
love
few in
spicy,
Florida.
hot. The hotter the better, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, you can get it really, really spicy there, and that's what I like. I like to get it extra spicy from them, and it's like it is proper flavor. It's really nice. You get some nice rice from there as well, and like you can also get hummus from them as well. You can get quite a lot of stuff.
I like hummus. I do like that.
Yeah,
I buy
they do
that
good
actually
hummus.
and eat it. I like that red pepper one. Yeah, Star Mama, she cooks. She has some cooking videos and stuff on her channel actually.
Best thing
She's
I can
Southern.
cook is apple pie.
Mm. You ain't doing like no. What's that movie with the apple pie?
American Pie.
Yeah, you ain't doing that shit, are you?
Not at all. He's like, well, we'll just tell your mother we just ate the pie, son.
I love
And
peach cobbler. That's one of my favorite desserts.
It's like the wedding, American Pie 3, the wedding. That's the funniest because there's like so much funny stuff in that. It's like at the start, it's like he gets the pie all over his pants again by accident this time, and he's
They
trying to
don't make
wash it off,
movies
and
like
then
they used to, do they?
not at all. And then the dogs come on and run up on him and start licking the cream off his, and it's in his nuts areas, but it's over the pants. And then Stifler comes over, his pants fall down, and then he's trying to get the dogs off Jim. And then Michelle's, Jim's fiance's parents walk in, and the door opens, and then it looks like that Jim and Stifler are banging the dogs.
I like the Hangover movies too.
They're great. I love Chow. They should do
Yes.
a spin-off for Chow. Like how Chow
My favorite
became...
movie of all time is 50 First Dates.
I like 50 First Dates. I do enjoy
Yeah,
it. I
I've
like
watched
Dan
it 100
Aykroyd in that
times.
movie.
It's a really good movie, and I'm a
And
huge
I
Adam
like 10
Sandler
Second
fan. You
Tom. He's
know.
like, hi, I'm Tom.
Yes. Hi, I'm Tom. Nice to meet you. And then,
Hi, I'm
hi,
Tom.
I'm Tom. Nice to meet you. It's like, yeah.
Nice to meet you. And he goes, you have severe brain damage. You only have a 10-second memory. I do? How?
Hi,
Oh,
I'm Tom.
hi, I'm Tom.
I call myself 10-second Tom sometimes because I squirrel and forget.
No, that is me. Like, I'll go downstairs, like, I'll be baked off my mind, and I'll go downstairs, like, not even that baked, even. I'll go downstairs for something, and then I'll completely forget why, and then I'll walk back
I get
upstairs, and then I'll
frustrated with
remember.
myself sometimes, you know. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, that is my most favorite movie. I don't know why. I've always loved it. It's just a really good movie. And I like Drew Barrymore, you know, but I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan.
Yeah, I like you know, Grown Ups, that movie.
Yes.
Yeah,
He has not done a
that's
bad movie, in my opinion.
I think
I
Jack
love
and
him.
Jill was questionably quite bad.
And what was that one? There was another one though that was questionable. Fuck, I can't think. The hands
Sandy
down.
Wexler.
50
That
First
one
Date.
wasn't very good.
And then the guy with the wacky weed. Nah, I love 50 First Dates. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite Sandler movie.
Any movie. Your favorite, like, mine's not 50 First Dates just because I'm a Sandler fan. That's just my favorite movie. I just love it.
My favorite movie is probably, at the moment, because it's always changing, is probably Reservoir Dogs.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's Quentin Tarantino's first big movie. He's like,
Oh, I like him. Didn't he do the Kill Bill movies?
he did.
I loved those movies, believe it or not. I owned them. I loved them.
I love Kill Bill as
I
well.
like him. Yeah. The first one I think was the best. I loved it. It's crazy. People's like, you like those movies? Yeah, for some reason I did. And
I do, and I like the fact that he uses the grindhouse music, you know, from the grindhouse theaters back from the 70s. Those kind of sleazy, like B movie theaters.
I just wish they made stuff like they did back then. But
Exactly, they just make shitty remakes.
the
these
actors
days
and
and
stuff
woke
ain't like
ass
they was,
crap.
you know.
It's like woke ass crap. It's like every movie there's got to be
Mhm.
like some freaking someone who's like you know, like has to fit a certain like you know, checklist of you know,
You know, like,
diversity. Like
let a
if I
movie
was
come
someone
out
who was in,
today, American History X. Let that movie come out like today, and people would lose their fucking mind. I'm sure you have you seen that one?
I have seen it, of course. I've
I
seen
don't
it.
want to get into it because I ain't gonna have motherfuckers coming at me, but it's a good movie, and
It is a good movie.
it did. Imagine if something like that came out today, though. You know, just saying.
I like that Gran Torino as well with Clint Eastwood.
I don't think I've seen that. I like the Italian Job. I love that movie.
Do you like Escape from Alcatraz?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh my God, you have to see it. Cher really likes that movie. We were talking about
Look,
it the other day.
we can watch movies. And are you in my Discord? Do you have Discord?
I have Discord, but I'm not in your Discord. So if you can
I'll
like
send
drop
you a
your...
thing. I only have like 10 people in there, but it's like 10 close people and we like never talk or nothing anymore. But we can we can have it set up where we can watch movies together and stuff. Squid's
Hell
in
yeah.
there. I can't remember who else in there.
Oh, do you know who's in Escape from Alcatraz? Who you'll know?
Who?
Larry Hankin. He's the guy who plays Crazy Carl in Billy Madison. You know, Adam Sandler's movie. Billy
Yes,
Madison.
yes.
He's Crazy Carl.
hell.
You know, the guy who's
Oh,
actually
hell.
kind of nice to him, who works for his dad.
Yeah. Oh, hell.
Larry Hankin. Yeah, he's in that movie. He
Yeah, I know who you're
plays.
talking about.
Yeah, his surname his surname in the movie is Butts, and then they go and then there's a scene where they're in the yard and he goes what, some guy comes up to them and goes, older guy comes up to them and goes, ha ha ha, your name's Butts, that's a pretty funny name, you know. And then he turns around and goes, what did you say? And he goes, Al Capone. And then it was Al Capone, because it's set in the time when Al Capone was on Alcatraz in the prison. So it's like, and then they're like, oh my God, it's Al Capone, and they start kissing his ass.
Star Mama, I love the movie Fried Green Tomatoes too. I love that movie. She says she likes Steel Magnolias. That's a good one too.
Do you know what movie I like? I like oh God, Dark Shadows.
I haven't seen it.
It's got Johnny Depp in.
Well, I like him, but
Yeah, it's got Johnny Depp
didn't
in and
watch a lot of
Michelle
his stuff.
Pfeiffer in. It's a
I
Tim
like
Burton movie.
Gangsta's Paradise. What was that movie? Is that the name of it with Michelle Pfeiffer?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know which one you mean.
They play that song. Like I don't. remember
It
what-
was oddly placed in that movie.
Yeah. Hi, baby. I think my little dog needs to go out. Come here. And you gotta go potty. I gotta mute just a second, y'all. Gotta let my baby
Just a
out.
second. I'll keep everyone entertained.
Thank you.
Has anyone ever seen the movie Freddy Got Fingered? That movie is terrible. It's so terrible, it's kind of good. Like, I feel like his aim with that movie was to make an awful movie. And so in that sense, he did achieve his aim. So in that sense, to him, it was a good movie. But obviously to the viewing public, it isn't a good movie, you know. But I would like to know if anyone has ever seen that movie, because, you know.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, I was asking, have you ever seen Freddy Got Fingered?
Yeah.
That movie's insane. I felt like I was on
Oh.
acid when I was watching it.
I love older movies. But now I don't really watch TV or nothing because, oh no, my ADHD fucks me up really bad. I just, like, I have the TV on all the time, but it's just for background noise, you know? Like,
Yeah. Did you ever watch
I
The
can't-
Howling?
no,
It's got Dee Wallace in
no.
and Dennis Dugan. Dennis Dugan's like the hero in that movie, and he's like the director of like a bunch of Adam Sandler movies. Like he's like the director of like loads of Adam Sandler movies.
No, I don't
and he
know
was
him.
in this
That's
like
weird.
serious movie.
It's weird because I love Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I actually like. Have you ever seen like The Bench Warmers? But it's like Adam Sandler like wrote it but isn't in it. It's like Rob Schneider and David Spade.
No, nope.
It's like a baseball movie. Like it's like they're like grown men, and like John Heeder's in it as well. Napoleon Dynamite. Have you seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Yes.
I love that movie. That's probably the best independent movie ever made, I would argue.
Do you like war movies?
Of course.
Did you watch
love Full
Lone
Metal Jacket.
Survivor? I think was the name of it.
I love Full Metal Jacket. I love Platoon. I love it, Full Metal Jacket, where he's like, what about women and children? I said, how'd you kill women and children? He said, it's easy. You just don't lead them as much. I says, if they stand still, if they run away, they're VC. If they stand still, they're well-disciplined VC.
Yeah, I love war movies for some reason.
I like it in Platoon when they shotgun the weed. Like they smoke it out the shotgun. I've never done that.
I'm coughing. I'm not ignoring you. Hold on. Okay.
It's fine.
You sleep with the TV on, Star Mama? I cannot sleep with the TV on, but I do sleep with a sound machine. It's got the white noise. I don't like people talking like sleeping, or you know what I mean, to go to sleep. But I do have a white
fall
noise
asleep
machine.
to like movies I've seen a bunch of times, so I just have them
cannot.
on
I
in
have
the
to turn the
background.
TV off.
Yeah, I get you there.
Did you watch? Go ahead. You there?
Yeah.
Did you watch Peaky Blinders?
Of course.
I loved it.
I even like to smoke when I'm in Ireland. The brand of cigarettes that they smoke in Peaky Blinders.
Man, they smoke more cigarettes than anybody I've ever seen. Especially
Yeah,
Tommy.
it's like every second.
Yeah.
So every
Yeah, I like
scene
that.
you've got to have them smoking cigarettes.
Fags.
Facts.
Yeah,
when I was in Florida for the first time, I went up to a guy and I was just about to say to him, hey, can you sort me out a fag? And then I stopped myself because I realized how fucked that would sound to an American. And then I stopped myself and said, oh, can you sort me out a cigarette?
Yeah,
and
it's offensive
obliged.
here, you know.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, and like we would call people, y'all, whoever's listening, which I don't care, but faggots, or be like, stop that, you faggot, or I'm not mean nothing offensive or anything about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like we'd use it as a figure of speech, like retard, or you know what I'm saying? And
well, yeah, like you'd say it to people who weren't obviously retarded. You know what I mean? It's only really offensive if you're saying it to someone who is actually retarded.
Like I say, this is my biggest flaw. I say "goddamn" a lot, and I do not say that in any way to disrespect God. That's I've tried so many times to quit saying that because it kind of bothers me, but I don't say it to offend God. It's just like fuck
whenever
you.
I say something like that, I just say like, well, I'm saying it about someone else's God, so it doesn't matter. That's my get out of jail free card. I say goddamn. That's from Pulp Fiction.
But that is one word that I hate
that
I say, and I've just really kind of gave up on not saying it because I've always said it, and
yeah, and then when you tell yourself not to do something, you end up doing it more.
Mm-hmm.
In your ADHD brain, which I understand.
Oh my God. I'm a mess. All right, y'all want to get back to this New York City? See how we squirreled? I loved it. I like talking though. I like chatting and then getting serious, watching stuff for a while, then chatting. And I'm glad you're here, Star Mama.
And that was the last time we spoke with the president.
Governor Hochul, in the meantime, wrote on Twitter or X that she, quote, had a very productive conversation with President Biden tonight regarding some of our specific requests for help with the migrant crisis. Also commended him on his leadership at the UN today.
With the situation reaching a critical point, Mayor Adams is exploring various options to address the challenge, including the possibility of establishing a new shelter on Staten Island.
New Year really was exciting to be in Times Square. There was so much energy and shared our concerns. Both the governor was also communicated with him. If they were running the city right now, we'd be in a whole lot of trouble.
The city's response to the migrant influx has intensified, with Mayor Adams taking decisive measures to manage the situation. In a bold move, he issued an executive order demanding that buses carrying migrants provide a 32-hour notice before arriving in the city. Furthermore, specific arrival windows between 8:30 a.m. and 12 o'clock p.m. on weekdays have been set, indicating the city's efforts to regulate the flow of migrants. Mayor Adams' actions come amidst a clash with Texas Governor Abbott over migrant transfers. While Texas seeks to send a wave of migrants to New York City, Mayor Adams is determined to ensure that the city is adequately prepared to handle the influx. The mayor's stance reflects the gravity of the situation, with the city already caring for nearly 60,000 migrants. The surge in migrants has strained emergency shelters, prompting concerns about the city's capacity to accommodate everyone. Mayor Adams is facing immense pressure to address the crisis, while also managing the city's resources effectively. As the situation escalates, New Yorkers are bracing themselves for the challenges ahead, with the city's unique right to shelter rules adding complexity to the situation. Amidst budgetary constraints and legal challenges, Mayor Adams is calling for federal assistance to alleviate the strain on the city's resources. However, the city's unique rules regarding shelter provision are complicating efforts to secure external support, highlighting the complexities of the situation. As New York City navigates this unprecedented surge in migrants, residents are closely monitoring developments, hoping for swift and effective solutions to address the crisis while upholding the city's values of compassion.
Welcome back. Well, illegal border crossings break a new record, with CBP reporting over 300,000 encounters in December, the highest month ever recorded.
Yeah, and our next guest outlines in a new op-ed how it could be impacting your wallet.
Rights advocates called the expansion of health care for undocumented immigrants a major milestone in California.
Tend to go to states that offer a lot of public resources like healthcare. So in this situation,
right, and of course it serves as a magnet. It causes even more people to come in.
700,000 illegal immigrants between 26 and 49, eligibility for full coverage.
Well, that helped offset California's deficit, I think, by about $1.1 billion.
That more will come to states like California, especially because
amidst the surge of migrants flooding into New York City, the Biden administration faces intense scrutiny for its handling of taxpayer funds, with critics alleging mismanagement and lavish spending. As the Big Apple grapples with a staggering influx of migrants, reports reveal a significant portion of taxpayers' hard-earned money diverted towards housing, healthcare, and support services for these newcomers. With
More than 700,000 people between the ages of 26 and 49 will be eligible for Medi-Cal.
DACA recipients were in the country legally. They were legally present in the country.
California expands access to care for undocumented immigrants. New York appears to be taking a more aggressive stance.
Because they don't have access to these resources, they wait until the very end to hopefully receive some care, and by then it's too late.
So I think that that's the other shoe that's likely to drop, given how loyal Gavin Newsom has been for President Biden.
They're feeling ill to go to the doctor. We should have preventative care, and that's why this is so important.
Newsom's California brings a $3 billion bill to taxpayers in yet another handout for illegal immigrants.
With New York City at the epicenter of the migrant crisis, concerns mount over the allocation of resources, as city coffers strain under the weight of accommodating thousands seeking refuge. Critics question the administration's priorities, highlighting exorbitant spending on temporary shelters, transportation, and legal aid for migrants, while local communities struggle with their own pressing needs. Amidst this contentious backdrop, calls for transparency and accountability grow louder, with taxpayers demanding answers about the effectiveness and sustainability of government initiatives. While the Biden administration pledges to address the humanitarian crisis with compassion and pragmatism, questions linger over the long-term implications of such hefty investments. As the debate rages on, the plight of migrants intersects with broader concerns about fiscal responsibility and the role of government in addressing societal challenges. With taxpayers footing the bill, the spotlight intensifies on the Biden administration's approach to managing this unprecedented crisis, with no easy solutions in sight. California Governor Gavin Newsom is facing scrutiny over his recent decision to expand healthcare coverage for undocumented immigrants, as concerns mount over the potential financial strain on taxpayers. Despite the state's already challenging financial situation, Newsom's move aims to extend healthcare access to a significant number of individuals, adding to the state's medical program at an estimated annual cost of $3.1 billion.
Is looking at, they spend the most amount of money on their Medicaid system called Medi-Cal in California.
And really rolled out the red carpet for illegal immigration here when they said
care coverage, access to Medicaid was offered to children, undocumented children in the state.
That would be about a $3.1 billion a year hit to the California budget.
Sustainable, it's unacceptable. We're about to spend $12 billion on this crisis.
The decision has sparked a heated debate, with critics questioning the wisdom of allocating taxpayer funds to cover undocumented immigrants' healthcare expenses. Some argue that such expenditures could incentivize more individuals to cross the border unlawfully, further burdening the state's already stretched resources. This controversy comes amid broader discussions about immigration policies and their implications on public services. While California positions itself as a champion for healthcare justice, concerns have been raised about the potential consequences of Medicaid expansion, efforts on healthcare access, particularly for low-income individuals in rural areas. Furthermore, the announcement has reignited discussions about the state's budget deficit, which stands at a staggering $68 billion. Senator Roger Nello and other Republican colleagues have emphasized the need for proactive measures to address this deficit, questioning the feasibility of adding additional costs to the state's already strained budget. The decision.
Well, for one thing, they're not just coming here on their own dime. The United Nations, it turns out, is spending hundreds of millions of dollars in cash handouts, food, shelter, something called humanitarian transportation, really every human need that is required to make the long journey through Latin America, Central America, and Mexico. And who pays the UN? Who's the UN's major funder? It's the US taxpayer is paying for this. How do we know this? Because there's a brand new budget document that the UN puts out for 2024. They're going to spend $1.6 billion to help 3 million illegal immigrants move through 17 different countries of Latin America and the Caribbean and Mexico. And that includes $370 million in cash cards, debit cards, $25 million in transportation assistance to help them move through. And the budget document also clearly shows that they are witting, that they know that these are illegal immigrants and that they are moving illegally through their own member states. And they're using 248 NGOs to help hand out the cash.
The decision also raises questions about the broader implications for immigration policies and fiscal responsibility. As the Biden administration allocates more tax money to shelter migrants, there are growing concerns about the economic impact on California and the potential influence on migration patterns. Governor Noem's decision to expand healthcare coverage for undocumented immigrants has sparked a contentious debate over fiscal responsibility and immigration policies. As policymakers grapple with these challenges, the decisions made in response to the needs of migrants will have far-reaching effects on both the state and the national conversation surrounding immigration and fiscal management.
The opportunity to build up the infrastructure you need for all the unhoused folks in the city. You'll come into the arrival center, store your luggage, get you receive your next.
That's a big mystery, but I've been down at the border. I've been to these waste stations. I've interviewed the illegal immigrants who are receiving this. I've had them show me their debit cards, the whole thing. They say that it's for the most vulnerable. But they're planning to hand out debit cards and cash equivalents to 624,000 illegal immigrants in 2024. None of them look particularly vulnerable to me. I mean, a lot of them are grown men. They're adults. They don't seem weak or sick or anything like that. They say it's for the most vulnerable, but I don't see it. I'm sure there are some vulnerable people that are receiving this cash aid, but I also think that they just want to help as many illegal immigrants as possible move to the United States, and they know it and they say it in the budget document, which is linked in my New York Post and the Center for Immigration Studies piece that I published on this matter.
I think
several people have been arrested already in this high-profile.
You still there, Jay?
I'm still there, yeah.
Star Mama. You yawning on me? What time is it there? It's late.
It's 4:05, but I'm more than awake. You know what I mean? I have I'm still on a weird sleeping schedule.
And you slept late today, like I did.
Yeah, so I slept in late. I also fell back asleep again, a while after. But thanks for thinking about me. But yeah, I'm fine.
Hold on just a second here. All right. Hold on, give me a minute. Dogs are barking at something. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Fucking dogs. No. Yeah, we all slept late. Hold on, I got caught out now.
I had some weird dreams last night.
Did you dream about me?
I was
If you say yes, it would be like, wow.
It's weird. I haven't been dreaming about people who I actually know lately. It's been like a bunch of fuckers in my dreams who I don't know, or people who I haven't
Isn't it
seen
weird
in
though when
years.
you do dream about? Have you dreamed about people here on YouTube? I have. It's weird. Like, man, people
Kind
in my
like
dreams.
people have made, I guess, what I would call cameo appearances in my
Right.
dreams,
Not really played a role or nothing, but we're just there, kind of like.
tagging along or for
But see,
some
now I take
reason.
my nightmare medicine every night, so I really don't dream like I used to.
Yeah, like I wouldn't call it a nightmare last night, but it was freaking weird. It was like, I don't know, like
I hate weird dreams.
there was some guns involved and shit for some reason. It was UK in the dream, and there was some guns involved.
I heard they might be sending some UK men to war or something, or
Yeah, possible.
I don't.
But it felt more like I'd found a gun and the police were after me for it or something like
Oh
that.
my goodness.
But I'd have turned it in if I found it. As if they get you with a hot gun, you could get charged with like whatever crimes have been committed with it, you know.
Yeah, I get that because you can't prove you didn't do it. You know.
Exactly. You know, unless you've got solid alibis, and they'd get you for possession of a illegal, you know, of a gun without a license. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, so it's that situation. Unless you like call them up and say, "Here, I've found a gun, bringing it to you," or like, "Come and get it," whatever. But
Let's
yeah,
see here.
crazy what's going on in NYC.
Yeah, I'm gonna play this one here about the gang.
Sure.
There's a few of them go back forward, like with the gang, and then Eagle Pass, the gang, New York, you know. And I'm glad I got people that like to watch this with me because
Yeah, I'm glad that you.
it's interesting to me. I don't know why it is. I like to know.
Same here.
All right, let's watch this New York one.
Sure.
Hold on. There's some stuff about California starting to happen too. Okay, but we're gonna go here. I turn the subtitles on. I know it's annoying because it blocks stuff sometimes, but I have some people that need the subtitles, you know, and I want everyone to be able to, because I've had people ask me to turn them on.
Case, including this man. He was arrested in the Times Square attack on cops, and now he's in trouble with law enforcement again in a separate incident.
Police say the 12 gang members charged, who range in age from 16 to 21, to face a judge on multiple felony charges ranging from armed robberies to attempted murder.
There's new information now as police make more arrests connected to that attack on police officers in Times Square. One of the migrant suspects now being linked to another crime.
We're going to begin with another arrest in the beating of 2 NYPD officers in Times Square.
And one of the suspects already charged in the case is facing more legal trouble.
So we've seen a spate of some very brazen cell phone robberies in New York City that's been attributed to a Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua, which has its origins at a prison outside of Caracas. A number of the gang members escaped in September 2023 when the Venezuelan government raided the prison. And a lot of them have come over within this surge of migrants from Venezuela into the United States. In the last fiscal year, there have been like 340,000 encounters at the U.S. southern border with Venezuelan migrants. Among those, Border Patrol has apprehended 41 Tren de Aragua gang members. Law enforcement says they are infiltrating cities in the United States and maybe forming alliances with gangs that are already established here. We're seeing the presence of Tren de Aragua in New York City. We're seeing all these brazen cell phone robberies.
Darwin Gomez Isgael is now in police custody, but authorities say he's likely the same man who was indicted in connection to that attack in Times Square just last week. How we know that the 19-year-old is now facing charges that include robbery and petty larceny, all in connection with what happened at this Macy's store yesterday.
Now, authorities say he allegedly tried to steal with a group of other migrants from this store more than $600 worth of merchandise yesterday. While he was arrested, the search is on at this hour for 3 others who were a part of that group. The NYPD early this morning released surveillance video showing a woman and 2 other men believed to have been with Isgail. Authorities say the group removed some of the store merchandise and tried to hide it in a bag. When they were confronted by a loss prevention officer, they started to fight. One person from that group allegedly punched that security guard. Then the group ran, last seen fleeing westbound on Queens Boulevard. But again, Darlin Isgail is now in police custody. As we bring you back live, he allegedly matched the description of the same person that was seen in connection to that incident in Times Square with 2 police officers. There was a lot of controversy over the 7 people indicted in that attack because they were released without bail.
And a lot of them have come over within this surge of migrants from Venezuela into the United States. In the last fiscal year, there have been like 340,000 encounters at the U.S. southern border with Venezuelan migrants. Among those, Border Patrol has apprehended 41 Tren de Aragua gang members. Law enforcement says they are infiltrating cities in the United States and maybe forming alliances with gangs that are already established here. We're seeing the presence of Tren de Aragua in New York City. We're seeing all these brazen cell phone robberies where 2 guys on a moped will go onto a sidewalk in Manhattan and they will steal a cell phone out of the hands of somebody who's actually talking on the phone. This is important because if you're talking on the phone, your phone is open. So the guy on the back of the scooter just keeps tapping the phone so that all of your apps are open. And then they take it back to a gang leader in the Bronx where, a hacker goes through and drains people's bank accounts. The phones are then bundled up and sent to Colombia where they're resold. So it's suddenly a big mess.
More changes are coming to migrant shelters across the city. Starting tomorrow, an additional 20 shelters will implement a nightly curfew.
For the safety of migrants, the city explains in a statement it's, quote, prioritizing the health and safety of asylum seekers and surrounding New Yorkers, and that it, quote, will allow for more efficient capacity management for migrants in the city's care. Mayor Adams spoke about the curfew at an unrelated event Sunday.
Anything that can keep us safe, that's the goal.
The mayor also emphasizing on the need for structure, organization, and federal help with the asylum seeker crisis.
We'll persuade the national government to solve this problem. This is not a city problem. This is a national government problem.
The curfew initially went into effect at 4 shelters in mid-January, but is now expanded to 20 more, mostly in Manhattan. The expanded curfew impacts more than 3,600 more migrants across city shelters.
And by the way, New York Governor Kathy Hochul says she wants to give New York City an additional $2.4 billion to help manage the massive influx of migrants that they've seen in that city. $1.9 billion would be included in the governor's 2025 budget proposal, with an additional $500 million coming from the state's rainy day fund. New York City believes the cost of providing food, housing, medical care, you name it, for all of these migrants could reach $10 to $12 billion by next year. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is calling for nearly $2.5 billion in migrant aid in her state's latest budget proposal. That's roughly 1% of the entire state budget for New York. What does that tell you? And what should it tell us who are watching at home about how much needs to be spent in actual border states, the Texases, the Arizonas, the Californias of the world, to try to bring the migrant crisis under control?
It's extremely disappointing that she's doing this, because all that does is offers more free aid to people that cross our borders illegally. And the more free aid that you offer, the more people are going to come. So she's asking for a couple $1 billion right now. Then next year she asks for another couple $1 billion because the problem doesn't end at the border.
But do you think that actually helps Republicans? Do you think her saying, hey, even New York needs $2.5 billion, is that helpful in Republicans' fight to say, if New York needs $2.5 billion, President Biden, White House, what do you think we need?
No, it doesn't in the effect that we're just throwing money at a problem, that money doesn't solve it. It's policy. If the Republicans jumped on this and said, hey, Kathy, give us the policy and then you won't have to worry about this $2.1 billion, that's what we need. So we don't have to throw money at it. We have to have policy. And that's what nobody, including Kathy Hochul, is willing to give us. If she gave us policy, she wouldn't have to worry about this issue anymore.
We asked the mayor.
They told us today they feel like they're being treated like animals. I wanted to know what your response was.
Here in New York City, with tensions high over the growing migrant crisis.
Ghost guns we know are bad. Then you hear ghost criminals, and that can also incite fear. But the mayor and the NYPD have pointed out that these criminals ultimately make up a small portion of the asylum seekers here. This level of crime, there seems to be this kind of network of crime, but it is migrant-based, and it's something that needs to be addressed.
And when you see our police being brutally attacked in the middle of the day, and then you've got immigrants who are being let go with no bail, we don't have IDs on them, we don't know where they're going, and they're flipping the camera and basically flipping the country off on their way out with this entitlement mentality. This has been created. We could easily stop it within tomorrow if we were just to enforce our laws. But they're not doing, the Biden administration is specifically not doing it. It's not doing it on purpose. And every single American is seeing these images, and it's frightening.
What you've got here that Commissioner Caban called ghost gangs simply means we don't have any records of these folks. They're new here. There's no database with their names in it. We don't know where they live. And it's a little bit compounded by the fact that Latin American names often have multiple elements to them that can be switched around. So that's why they're ghost gangs. And like ghost guns, which have no registration, ghost cars, which have fake license plates. That's the challenge for police.
Especially like when you have this ringleader that they're currently looking for. This isn't just, hey, steal a couple of phones or grab a couple of purses while you're on the back of a scooter. They're taking these phones, they're able to download apps, they're able to infiltrate people's banking accounts and drain money that way, and then set up a payment system where if you drive the scooter, you get $100 a day. If you steal the phone, you get between 3 and 5. It's pretty elaborate for somebody who just kind of crossed the border.
Yeah, they cross the border with relationships with gangs in Venezuela. They are a sophisticated group, stealing electric scooters, using them to knock people down and steal their phones, either selling the phones or selling the data in the phones. This is a sophisticated operation.
So if you're a part of the NYPD task force that's tasked with bringing down criminals like this, and when we talk about, ghost criminals and ghost guns and not being able to identify or figure out where these people are coming from with no past record.
We have another incident where migrants fired a shot in a retail store right in Times Square just 2 days ago.
A 15-year-old wanted for opening fire on police officers in a crowded Times Square and shooting a tourist in the leg with a .45 caliber handgun, now in police custody, according to law enforcement.
Considering where these shootings took place, it's an actual miracle that we're not having a very different conversation right now.
Police say the teenage migrant recently arrived in New York from Venezuela in September. One of 3 teens who, according to police, entered a sporting goods store Thursday evening, stopped by a security guard for allegedly stealing clothes.
Our suspect takes out a .45 caliber handgun, a very large handgun, shoots at her into a crowd, striking a 37-year-old female tourist from Brazil.
Some of the men picked up by federal immigration officers on a Phoenix-bound bus are not the men suspected in the assault on a pair of NYPD officers. So it's still believed some of the migrant men who were charged and released last week are headed out west to the California-Mexico border. CBP confirms to Fox it issued warrants for 3 of the men, Gomez Isquiel, Juarez, and Servita Rocha. The only suspect who is being held on bail in New York in this case, Yohenry Brito, is set to be arraigned on a grand jury indictment next month when the charges for his alleged role in the assault will be unsealed.
And back to that indictment of Yohenry Brito, we do not yet know specific charge or charges because that indictment
Burrito.
arraignment March 25th.
Burrito.
The attorney for Yohenry Brito not saying much today. Brito is right now the only suspect to be arrested and held on bail in connection to the assault on 2 police officers.
Brito had a brief court appearance yesterday for 2 prior misdemeanor cases. His attorney saying after his client pleaded not guilty, this case highlighting the sanctuary city laws, which limit New York City agencies in their involvement with ICE. New York City Mayor Eric Adams said this week, it's a matter for city council to take up. And just yesterday, he said he supports deportations in these instances.
For the safety of migrants, the city explains in a statement it's, quote, prioritizing the health and safety of asylum seekers and surrounding New Yorkers, and that it, quote, will allow for more efficient capacity management for migrants in the city's care. Mayor Adams spoke about the curfew at an unrelated event Sunday.
Anything that can keep us safe, that's the goal. Public safety.
The mayor also emphasizing on the need for structure, organization, and federal help with the asylum seeker crisis.
Reopening the national government should solve this problem. It's not a city problem. It's a national government problem.
The curfew initially went into effect at 4 shelters in mid-January, but is now expanded to 20 more, mostly in Manhattan.
It is my strong belief that if a person commit a serious crime, felony, violent crime, the federal government should do this job and deport that individual if they're found guilty.
Now, New York Republican lawmakers have pinned this letter to New York Governor Kathy Hochul calling for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg to be removed, saying his handling of this assault must be the, quote, final straw, and adding, quote, the public safety of New Yorkers is clearly at risk. So the DA's office tells us the worst offenders and the brutal attack have yet to be arrested.
8 migrants arrested, 6 charged, 5 freed without bail. 1 had been released from Brownsville due to capacity issues. 2 were removed from the United States, then re-entered, and 2 entered through the northern border. Because of this incident, how is it that this incident changed the conversation in New York about illegal immigration?
Well, it hit home for sure. I mean, it just became more of a reality. And thank you for having me on, and good evening to you.
Yeah.
It became the reality of the actual violence that's taking place in the city of New York that is being caused by this migrant crisis that we have here. Just earlier this week, what are we on, Tuesday? Over the weekend, we had 173,000. Now we have 175,000. The number just keeps going up and up and up. Bragg is known for not prosecuting. Bragg is probably the worst DA to happen to the city of New York. And let me say this, that the the governor could fire Bragg tomorrow if she wanted to, but they don't. So what this did was this flipped it all around. We physically saw our cops being assaulted on a street a few blocks off of Times Square, a main hub for our tourism and for New Yorkers. Look at it. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And let's remember, ICE, we cannot deport anybody. We cannot report their immigrant status under
right, no, it's a sanctuary city.
Right.
I'm curious about this because Mayor Adams has talked so much about how the migrant crisis, if you want to call it that, this crisis of 175,000 people is bankrupting the city. It's causing so many problems. And then at the same time, they're offering free shelter, free food, and now prepaid credit cards. And I'm wondering how the mayor thinks that he is going to tell people to stop coming when he's offering them free credit cards.
Well, obviously, it's just saying, come on in, come on, you know, under the guise of saving the city millions of dollars on the end side of this. He's starting this with 500 families, and with 500 families getting $35 a day. Let me say something here. One of the main reasons for these cards are so that they could purchase the food that they're used to eating from the countries that they come from. They were unhappy with the food that we were giving them in the shelters. They were throwing it out for garbage. They were complaining that they weren't eating native food from their homelands. This is absolutely ludicrous. It's ridiculous. And we hung the welcome sign out. We're going to see what happens with this. We know on the surface it's a disaster. But let's go back to
forgive me for 1 second. There's something deeper here that I think is going on. And there is a realization in New York that had been so welcoming and sort of looked down at the rest of the country of, oh, how can you be worried about the border crisis? We are a city of immigrants, on and on and on.
What I'm seeing here is a shift in moderate Democrats being totally fed up. Nobody likes what's going on here in the city of New York. We have, you know, these streets have become, it's become the wild, wild west, and nobody's being held accountable. And everybody's shaking their head and they're saying, how is this happening? Well, the simple reason is you voted for this. You voted for this. You know exactly what you get when you vote. And if you don't know what you get when you vote, then I'm sorry to say to the people of New York City, you better start to get educated really, really quick, because we're not going to be able to take this. We got an election coming up.
They are nonetheless preying on New Yorkers and making our city less safe.
Yesterday, in his annual trip to Albany, Mayor Adams signaled that he's open to issuing an executive order allowing for the NYPD to notify ICE about migrants who commit dangerous felonies.
That is something we would love to entertain and to look at.
In 2014, the city council passed a law that would place limits on how the NYPD can cooperate with ICE. Adams says it would be up to his legal team to see if he could override this law, but agreed that migrants who commit serious crimes should not be allowed to live here.
I believe if you create repeated felonies in our city, the federal government should do its job and have that individual deported from our city.
No, we got to do it better than that. That's better. Subcommittee on Federal Lands will come to order. I'm assuming the mic is on here. It sounds like it's good, huh? I'd like to welcome everybody to Cochise College here in Sierra.
Do what?
I'm going to drop down now into the chat, but thanks for having me up, KKB.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm just listening.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to come up with you, and I really enjoyed our chat as always.
All right. Thank you. We're going to go to a next one here. Stop that one. It says Texas just made another shocking move. So we're going back to Eagle Pass here. This is Biden wanting to. He's just fucking laughable, man. My pleasure, Jay. Thank you.
Policy change for anyone trying to get across.
They're putting in more razor wire at the southern border. Greg Abbott is once again challenging federal authorities on the border. He's saying Texas has a right to self-defense.
The United States of America is not really united, if we're being honest, and this is because it has a lot of opinionated people in powerful positions. It's a miracle that we haven't seen a civil war in the U.S. by now, but we might be seeing one soon because there is something brewing at the Texas border that could change everything. There's a massive tension between the Biden administration and the state of Texas. This tension is now reaching a boiling point, and it's gotten everyone on edge. So what exactly is going on down there, and will there be a civil war? Join us as we discuss this shocking situation at the Texas border. The United States of America is facing a grave threat from within. Some of its enemies, both foreign and domestic, are hoping for a civil war to break out and tear the nation apart. And they might get their wish sooner than later, as one of the largest and most powerful states is openly defying the federal government over a contentious issue, immigration. So what exactly is the root of this conflict? Well, the state of Texas, which shares a long border with Mexico, has been at odds with the Biden administration over how to handle the influx of migrants who are crossing the border illegally. Texas claims that the federal government is failing to secure the border and protect the state from the negative impacts of illegal immigration, such as crime, drugs, and human trafficking. The state has taken matters into its own hands, implementing its own policies and measures to deter and detain migrants. One of the flashpoints of this clash is a park along the U.S.-Mexico border called Shelby Park in the city of Eagle Pass. This park has become a hotspot for migrants who are trying to enter the U.S. by crossing the Rio Grande, the river that separates the two countries. Texas has denied access to the park to the Border Patrol agents, who are the federal law enforcement officers responsible for patrolling the border and apprehending migrants. The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, a Republican, has been vocal and defiant in his opposition to the Biden administration's immigration policies. He has declared that Texas will not allow the Border Patrol agents to enter the park anymore, and that the state will continue to pursue its own agenda and actions to secure the border. He has also launched a series of aggressive and controversial initiatives, such as installing floating barriers in the Rio Grande to block the passage of migrants and enacting a new law that would authorize the state and local police to arrest migrants on charges of illegal entry. Shelby Park is a scenic and peaceful park in Eagle Pass, a city that lies on the border between Texas and Mexico. The park covers about 50 acres of land that stretches to the edge of the Rio Grande, the river that marks the boundary between the two countries. The park is also a prime location to witness a rare astronomical phenomenon, a total solar eclipse that will occur in April and will be visible only in a narrow strip of North America. The city has planned a festive event at the park to celebrate this occasion. However, the park has also become the site of conflict and controversy, as Texas and the U.S. government are locked in a bitter dispute over the control and access of the park. The park provides a convenient and discreet way for immigrants to reach the river and attempt to swim or raft across it. In January, Texas officials took over the park as part of a larger operation called Operation Lone Star, which is the state's ambitious and aggressive campaign to stop illegal immigration and secure the border. The officials erected a fence around the park and blocked the entry of anyone, including the Border Patrol agents, who are the federal officers in charge of patrolling the border and arresting migrants. The mayor of Eagle Pass, who was not informed of this decision, was shocked and outraged by the state's action. He questioned the rationale and the timing of the move, pointing out that the number of crossings had decreased in recent weeks due to the colder weather and the increased enforcement by both the U.S. and Mexican authorities. The U.S. government was also unhappy and alarmed by the state's interference and defiance. Shortly after the fence was built, the Justice Department filed a petition to the U.S. Supreme Court asking it to order Texas to allow the Border Patrol agents to enter the park. The U.S. government argued that the park was part of the national border and security, and that the Border Patrol agents needed to access the park to monitor the river and launch boats into it. The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, was not deterred or intimidated by the federal government's challenge. He defended his state's decision to restrict access to the park, expressing his frustration and anger over the situation at the border. He accused the federal government of being incompetent and irresponsible, and of allowing migrants to enter the country illegally through Eagle Pass and then transporting them to other states by buses. He said, "We said we've had it. We're not going to let this happen anymore." He vowed to continue his state's efforts and actions to protect the border and the state from illegal immigration. The conflict between Texas and the U.S. government over Shelby Park reached a new level of intensity and hostility on Saturday, January 13th, when a tragic incident occurred near the border. 3 migrants who were trying to cross the Rio Grande from Mexico to the U.S. drowned in the river, and their bodies were recovered by the Mexican authorities. The incident sparked a heated exchange of accusations and denials between the two sides, as they blamed each other for the death of the migrants and the failure to prevent it. The first to speak out was U.S. Representative Henry Cuellar, a Democrat who represents the Texas border district that includes Eagle Pass. He condemned the state of Texas for blocking the access of the Border Patrol agents to Shelby Park and for preventing them from doing their job of securing the border and saving lives. He said that the state's action was irresponsible and reckless, and that it put the migrants and agents at risk. The Texas Military Department, which is in charge of the state's border operation, responded by rejecting the claims of the U.S. representative. It said that the allegations that the state hindered the Border Patrol agents from rescuing the migrants were wholly inaccurate. It said that the Border Patrol agents had informed the state that the Mexican authorities had already retrieved 2 of the bodies when they asked for permission to enter the park. It also said that the Border Patrol agents only requested access to the park to chase 2 other migrants who were suspected to be with the victims. On Monday, January 15th, the Justice Department filed a document to the Supreme Court in which it argued that the state of Texas was lying and covering up its role in the drownings. It said that the Border Patrol agents would have been able to help their Mexican counterparts in recovering the bodies and in preventing further casualties if they had been allowed to access the park. It also said that the state of Texas was violating the federal law and the Constitution by interfering with border security and immigration enforcement. On Wednesday, January 17th, the state of Texas fired back at the U.S. government and disputed its accounts of the drownings. It also challenged the U.S. government's authority and legitimacy over the border and the park. It said that the Border Patrol agents had largely abandoned the area more than 2 months ago, and that they had failed to protect the border and the park from illegal crossings and criminal activities. It also said that the state of Texas Texas was acting within its rights and duties to defend the border and the state from the invasion and the harm of illegal immigration. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, a Democrat, has been critical and dismissive of the Texas governor's move, calling them unlawful and unconstitutional. He has argued that the federal government has the sole and exclusive power to regulate immigration and border security, and that the state of Texas is interfering with and undermining its efforts and authority. He also challenged and opposed the Texas governor's initiatives seeking to stop them through legal and administrative means. Now, almost all of the Republican governors in the country have signed a statement expressing their support and solidarity with Texas Governor Greg Abbott and his efforts and actions to secure the border and defy the federal government. The statement, which was released on Thursday, January 25th, on the Republican Governors Association website, blamed the Biden administration and accused it of neglecting and violating its constitutional obligations to the states and the nation. It said that the state of Texas had the constitutional right and duty to defend itself and its borders from the invasion and the harm of illegal immigration. It also praised Texas for using every tool and strategy, including razor wire fences, to deter and stop the migrants from crossing the border. The statement was signed by 25 Republican governors who represent the majority of the states in the country. They said, "We stand in solidarity with our fellow Governor Greg Abbott and the state of Texas in utilizing every tool and strategy, including razor wire fences, to secure the border. Because the Biden administration has abdicated its constitutional compact duties to the states, Texas has every legal justification to protect the sovereignty of our states and our nation." The next day, the White House responded to the governor's statement at a press briefing. The White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, dismissed and criticized the statement and said that it was not helpful or constructive. She said that the governors should instead work with the federal government and Congress to address the issues of the border and the immigration system. She said that they should urge their congressional members and senators to provide the resources and the solutions that their states need to deal with a broken system. She said, "I would say to them that if they truly want to help with the issue at the border, with the immigration system, that they need to talk to the congressional members, the senators in their state. They need to ask them to make sure that they have the resources they need within their respective states to take action to actually deal with a broken system." In the midst of all this, the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, has expressed his admiration and approval for the Texas governor for his bold and brave stance against the Biden administration over the issue of border control. The state of Texas is refusing to let the Biden administration enter and remove the razor wire that is installed in a busy area for migrants who are entering the U.S. illegally. The conflict is part of a larger and more intense feud over immigration between the two sides. In a speech that was dominated by the topic of border security, Trump said that Texas deserved to receive full backing and assistance in its efforts and actions to stop and deter migrants along the U.S.-Mexico border. The state is limiting the access of the role of the U.S. Border Patrol after the Supreme Court ruled that the federal agents had the right and the power to cut and remove the sharp metal fence. Trump said, "When I'm president, instead of trying to send Texas a restraining order, I will send them reinforcements." He addressed a crowd of supporters in Las Vegas where he held a rally on an indoor soccer field in a neighborhood that had a large Latino population. He said, "Instead of fighting border states, I will use every resource, tool, and authority of the U.S. president to defend the United States of America from this horrible invasion that is taking place right now." What do you think about this situation? Let us know in the comments section.
In a recent and astonishing turn of events, the Federal Bureau of
Okay, that was all of that one. Was that going too fast? Should I slow the speed down on it? Some of them know I just don't want to be sitting here all night, you know? It's not what I was wanting there on that one. Hold on just a second. Okay, this one's a short one. It is an invasion. I agree, Jay. I absolutely agree, bro.
You've been reporting on the border and you've seen a lot that's going on there lately. First things first, at Eagle Pass, which has sort of been the epicenter here, we're starting to see crossings go down there sharply in recent weeks here. What's going on? Why is that happening?
Yeah, Dan, thanks for having me on. They're going down remarkably. As a matter of fact, I was looking at a number today, a CBS News article was talking about from around 3,000 to like a couple of dozen. So obviously we know what has happened with Governor Abbott and how he stepped in and decided, okay, we're going to secure the border and do whatever we can. That, of course, was challenged by the Department of Justice that they can, in fact, cut that razor wire. But the bottom line here is they continue to put up razor wire, allowing the federal agents to cut through it, but just keep putting up more. So kind of a little bit of a race. Evidently, it's doing something. And what I read is a lot of the Texas crossings now have moved to Arizona and to California. There's a lot of communication going on the other side of the border, it appears. They know exactly where to go, where not to go. So these recent numbers are pretty astounding as to the amount of people that are now using Arizona and California gateways to get in. So it's changed dramatically here in just the last few weeks.
Yeah, so it's not like that's a great news story that they're going down. It's just now they're going to another they're going to another entrance there, and they're just finding the softest spots to get through. So, another thing I saw on your feed. Well, before I get to that, let's talk about the convoy, because you reported on the convoy. The mainstream media also weighed in on that, and when they did, and when they decided to pay attention to it, what would you say is kind of the difference between how the mainstream media presented it, the convoy, and what actually happened there with the convoy?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, Dan. And that's, Petite on the Street. That's what I do as well as freelancing for CBN, is because I want to actually see what's going on so I can actually compare it to what the media is talking about. And it was very remarkable. Like I said, and just as a quick background, or for those that are listening and watching, is I spent over 15 years in the local media, working with Scripps Howard, Hearst Television, NBC affiliates, ABC affiliates, Fox affiliates. And so I know really what goes on behind the scenes in the newsroom, and how the talk goes on there for the stories, and then how it actually comes out on air, particularly when you're dealing with the national news levels, the legacy news media, very, very different. And so that was actually one of the reasons I decided to go down. I wanted to see for myself, and I'm based here in Northwest Arkansas. So it's about a 12 or 13-hour drive to get to the border where this event happened, the convoy was. I thought, I need to see this. I need to see the people who are there. I need to see what's going on. And here's what I witnessed, Dan, is it was a very peaceful, very friendly gathering. And sure, everybody there was rallying against the border and the laws not being upheld. But it actually took on the feeling a little bit initially of almost a church service. They had a praise and worship band and a service there to start off. They had baptisms later in the evening. It took on sort of this theme of, yes, God and country, and congressmen. They had some legislators, both local as well as national. They were speaking on the issues at the border to tell people that what we've all been saying, and that is there's a real crisis and the law needs to be upheld. The people I spoke with, the people that were there, very friendly, very easy to talk to, very peaceful. Of course, there were Trump supporters everywhere, because that's their presidential candidate that supports abiding and supporting the rule of law when it comes to the border. So, of course, they were there as well. And there were a few crazies. I got to admit, people on bullhorns, they were stationed outside the event itself. But the event itself was a very peaceful organization. And let me read this to you, because it's interesting. On the way over, I was looking at some of the stories that were coming out of some of the national media outlets there. And, it was really pretty astounding as to what I was seeing. Let me navigate over there on my phone. I had it up and then it just disappeared. And it was, the interesting part about that is they hadn't even been there yet. In other words, the event hasn't even taken place. And this is some of the headlines I was reading from Reuters. Trump looms over Texas border rally, targeting illegal immigration. I don't know if they meant looming, like the spirit of Trump, I guess. Far right, another word we're used to, convoy, protesting migrant crisis near southern border, comparing it to January 6th, of course. Take our border back convoy, nearing border as well. And this one, small Texas border city, is preparing for an unsolicited event in their town, yet it was a solicited event because it was happening at a children's shelter. So sort of this fear of what's going on there, painting a picture, if you will, before the event even happens. And that's what I like to do with my stories at Petite on the Street, is just show really what's going on there versus what you're hearing, because it does. It creates an idea of what's happening that's really not happening.
Yeah, that's interesting. And like, as both of us who have been in the media for some time now, you kind of see the way things are ingested, and people are trying to go at breakneck speed. And this is a separate conversation we could probably have some time about the media itself and maybe what needs to change. But people focusing on quality and doing a good job because of the age of the internet, because of the pressure for the click, people are just going at lightning speed. And to what you're saying there, it sounds like fits right into that. They just, we kind of know what's going on down there with these far right crazies, and so we'll just put something out there and make sure we get it out as quick as we can, and then move on to the next thing, where it's better, for everyone when we're actually able to spend the time and go and learn about what's happening there. Because I've also heard that the people down there, you talk about the church nature and the religious nature of some of that convoy, but then when you got down to the border, the people that are actually dealing with that, they said unsolicited as if it were a bad thing. It sounds like the people there at the border are fed up with it, what's happening, and the people that are overwhelming their properties and the things they're dealing with on the ground there, they're just desperate for something to happen. And so their stories are rarely told.
It is, and I had the opportunity. That was one of the reasons that I decided to go down, was to talk to those people. Now, again, this event in Quemado, which is right near Eagle Pass, just a stone's throw, that was where they had the property for all the trucks in the convoy and the stage to be set up, and it was a children's ranch. And I spoke to the person who runs the ranch, and they're concerned. Their food has been stolen multiple times, clothes simply put out to dry on the line, gone. And they have some young women there, and there has been reports of rapes, throughout the border here and there that have gone up significantly. I'm not pointing to those coming across as the reason for that. However, they're looking at the statistics compared to years ago, and they're dramatically up. And they're concerned for the kids that go to this ranch. They've had to move locations. They've even pointed out what they said was a cartel house just about a few hundred yards from where they are, seeing people come in and out of that location. And you sort of try to wrap your mind around, well, how come that isn't shut down? What is happening? And then I spoke to a rancher named Charlie Rosales, and he's on the story that you can find on my YouTube page. Just search Paul Petite. And he's been there for years. He's a rancher, a Hispanic fellow, by the way. And he said this happens all the time. My chickens are stolen. There's a lot of ranching out there. Food disappears. People knocking on doors and begging. And we understand, he said, that a lot of these people are looking for a better life. He's not denying that. Says, however, I've been here many years. I've seen a lot of crossings. And he pointed to the river, Rio Grande, which was literally 200 yards from where we were standing. He says, however, I've seen people come across now with tattoos on their faces, and we know these are gang tattoos. It's a very different crowd. So that's really what's happening there. And these people have been dealing with this for the better part of 3 years. Think about it, 300,000 border crossings just in the month of December on record. And it simply can't be absorbed.
No, I mean, it's like adding like the city of Seattle or Cincinnati. You're just popping one of those in there every month. And that's insane. That is unsustainable. And it's not just, I mean, the people on the front line at the border, they're getting impacted highly from this, but it's not limited to that anymore. We're seeing people, once they come into the country, either get sent by officials into other areas, or they're just going to where they have family members. And so we're seeing this spread out. A couple of things you saw that I saw on your feed that was quite interesting. Number one, I think it was Oklahoma, there was at a truck stop, a fentanyl vending machine, not for the drug, but for the test strips, in case someone, I mean, to think about that, to wrap your mind around that, why that would even need to be there in the first place. Hey, let's put a vending machine here. That just shows you how bad the problem has really gotten.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw it. I'd almost do a double take. I'm literally it's next to one of those little vending machines with the claw that you play with, and there it is, the fentanyl Narcan test strip vending machine, and it's along the I-40 corridor, which of course goes straight across east to west, across Oklahoma, but obviously connects into Arizona as well as Arkansas, and out, literally the coast. So here's this vending machine, which again speaks to exactly what you're talking about. Obviously, you don't put a vending machine where there's no need or where there's no customers. So these test strips apparently, A, from what I read, right there on the vending machine, tell you if that person is in fact under the influence, and B, there's a Narcan there, which of course counters any sort of an overdose. So we know that this is usually relegated to emergency crews, first responders, in case there is an overdose. Well, now anybody could basically dispense this. Really, it's that prevalent. And we do know, unmistakable, that the fentanyl, talking to law enforcement throughout the border, as well as national, down to the local level, fentanyl is pouring into this country at rates that, what I've heard, could kill somebody everybody on this planet. Literally, there's that much going around, and it continues to come through because it's so simple to cross the border. So seeing that machine is certainly an eye-opener.
Yeah, it really is. And look, I mean, it's just common sense to know that, look, a lot of these people are just looking for a better life. They're probably good people. They're probably fine. But just the sheer numbers of it, you see that you're going to have, I mean, gangs are going to be looking at this. Terrorists are going to be looking at the ease of which you can get into the country right now and sense an opportunity. It's just basic logic, common sense. And so not having that situation taken care of isn't in any way to demean all the people, the good people who are trying to come through. But just the sheer numbers of it tell you all you need is 1% or 2% or 3%. And you're talking thousands and thousands of people that are not good people and don't mean to do well here. They mean to do harm. They mean to sell drugs. They need gang life, et cetera, et cetera. Terrorist activity, they're going to come through. You were also up, Paul, in Chicago, and you saw the impact up there. Tell me a little bit about what you saw there and how the migrant crisis is impacting even a city as far away from the border, the southern border, as Chicago.
Yeah, if you happen to remember, Dan, over the holidays, Chicago was getting bussed one after another from Texas up to the Chicago area. And I had the opportunity to go to a migrant ministry that was there through the Catholic diocese there, as well as visit an evangelical church, which also has a high Hispanic population, to find out what they're doing and how they're handling the influx. So there's sort of two levels here. These ministries are obviously stepping in because we all know these are human beings, regardless of their motives, regardless of their needs. They're human beings that need to be cared for, and the city simply can't absorb that. So these churches, which are largely Catholic, given the population that's coming through, have opened their doors to feed, to clothe, and we visited a migrant ministry to see what's going on. And I had the opportunity to actually interview by an interpreter, one of the migrants that came up there illegally from Venezuela. And as we know, Mexico is becoming a smaller population while the rest of Central South America is larger. Now we're hearing China, which is a whole other discussion and reason for caution. But this Venezuelan, and he said he was an attorney for Venezuela, but then he got sideways with the government there, who we all know is a very bad dictatorship situation. And he said that his concern, equally to ours, is that if we don't get a handle, the United States, on how to get these people working and get them housing, they're going to resort to crime. They got to eat, and they have to have a place to live. Right now, these people are in shelters. So to give you an idea, up to this point, since August 2022, Chicago's had about 30,000 migrants get bussed that way. Okay, if you think about that number, well, 30,000, that is 10% of just the number that came over the border in the month of December. And already, Chicago is at a breaking point. The mayor there is pleading for federal help. He's obviously at a standoff and very irate with Governor Abbott for shipping these buses up there with migrants without notice. They want to have it coordinated, so much so that they've instilled fines for bus companies and bus drivers that come there unannounced. So what Governor Abbott did during the holidays is he started that busing the migrants to the suburbs of Chicago and then getting them on the train, the Metro train, which then takes you to their landing zone, if you will, for the city of Chicago. Well, you got to get these people working. You got to get them employed. You got to get them housing. Last I heard, and I need to update this, less than or around 1% of all the migrants in Chicago, by a local report, now have work permits. However, they're up against the 60-day term that they're allowed to be in a shelter in the city, which has already been moved from the end of the year to February, and then now moved again into the middle of March. And so the city clearly is unable to incorporate the sanctuary city. These people coming in, obviously we know there's no difference in New York, and there's no difference in Denver. That's starting to happen now too. We're asking for the suburbs to help out for the city of Denver to house these people. My thinking here is, if you want to be a sanctuary city, you should be prepared for the influx to be a sanctuary city, and to say, well, we need an announcement ahead of time. Well, clearly nobody in California, Arizona, or Texas is any sort of a heads up that migrants are crossing the border.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the irony in all this. They think that they're sort of getting the lesson in what it's like. You know, when they made all these sanctuary city laws, it seemed like it was almost an effort to sort of try to one up these border towns, these border states, to try to say, well, we would care about them. And now that they're actually having to put their money where their mouth is, they're seeing that the problem is a lot more difficult and complex than that. Paul Petit, appreciate you being here and explaining and talking about a lot of the reporting you've been doing, the good reporting on this situation, and we'll look forward to more from you soon.
Gang members. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. Okay, I'm gonna take a little smoke break here. Fire them up. You got them. Play a little song. Y'all know I like my music. One of my favorite songs, and it's fitting.
World getting crazy, baby, chill. Don't medicate, just meditate. You waking up now, well, baby, you hella late. Educate, look at what's going on, let it resonate, accelerate. Find your inner hunger like you never ate. Agenda is to push the hate, separate and segregate. Don't celebrate quite yet, the storm is coming, Q, for heaven's sake. Violence that they demonstrate, instigate and penetrate. The values of our country and our God is what they desecrate. My fighters ain't no featherweight, pulling out the seams of the fabric that they fabricate. They feed us lies, manipulate, intimidate through fear and force, forcing us to sit and wait till we come together, congregate, and then we liberate. Praying that you give me strength to find some love amongst the hate. Marching on these streets of blood till I see the golden gates. Troubadour and troubled souls, one of God's servants. Blades out, cut the grass till we see the serpents.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. Need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
I know the truth is hard to swallow, just digest it. Suspecting something's going on, but chose to just neglect it. Deflected by some breaking news, oh, we just accept it. Expecting just to fall in line and follow their perspective. Don't question their objective, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the testament, these children are protected. So I'm fighting all these terrorists, both foreign and domestic. Refuse to be directed, blind, not a sheep. Only kneel to my God, so I'm dying on my feet. Silence when we speak, but there's violence in the street. I've been rolling with the punches, I can't take it on the cheap. Drink from a glass half full, I'm optimistic. People are sadistic, so vicious and malicious. Praying for assistance to overcome opposition, or I'm gonna start resisting and then I'll pray for forgiveness.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. Need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now. We need you now. We need you now. One day, one day, one day. puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
Very powerful song. I love it. Here's something else I wanted to shit. This is about Dr. Phil.
All right, Stephen Miller, Tommy Lahren, thank you both for being with us on Friday. Dr. Phil McGraw, he visited the southern border in Texas, meeting with Border Patrol officials to witness the ongoing crisis firsthand. He rightly criticized the administration for their failures, calling it, quote, a humanitarian crisis unlike anything we have ever seen before. Here with more on his experience visiting the border in Texas, author of the book, We've Got Issues, our good friend, the host of the Dr. Phil Primetime Show, Dr. Phil McGraw. You know, I've always loved your style, which is just hard-hitting, penetrating, straight truth, take it or leave it. I'm not worried.
I know a lot of people have their love, hate, whatever for Dr. Phil, but I like him. He does series on narcissistic personality disorder and stuff, and I like his stuff like that. I like Dr. Phil.
Worried about your feelings. I'm not sure in this woke world if that's quite as acceptable. I give you credit, though. Well, you went down and you looked at the border yourself. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can't really say that they did what you did.
Well, Sean, thank you. I did go down because, first off, I'm pro-immigration. You need to understand, I think we need immigration in America. We need it for a lot of different reasons, but not the way it's being practiced right now.
No, you're pro-legal immigration. You're pro-legal immigration. Right. I'm pro-legal immigration.
Well, and we both are, and I know that. And I went down and talked to these gentlemen because I wanted to know from one of the most psychological principles, one of the most fundamental psychological principles is you don't reward bad behavior. And I wanted to go talk to the guys that are heading this up. And I have to tell you, you talk about some impressive troops down there. These guys are fighting a morale battle because they can't get what they need. And I wanted to know what's happening down here. What's really going on? You know, we hear this number, 6 million people have come across under the current administration. I talked to experts down there that say that number is a myth, that it's closer to 13 to 14 million that have come across. And I asked them straight up, what is it you need here? And I was shocked to hear them say, we don't need more money. We don't need more resources. We don't need more officers. We don't need more legislation. We just need the laws that are on the books to be followed. We need to be allowed to do our job, and we can get this under control right now. We don't need a bunch more money, officers, and legislation. Just let us do our job. That's all we need. And if you'll do that, we can get this under control overnight.
You know, Dr. Phil, I've been down there myself over the years, probably 12, 15 times, horseback, all-terrain vehicles, on foot. You know, I've been out. I've been in the drug warehouses, you know, floor to ceiling, you know, drugs that will kill our kids. You know, whatever the number is, 8 million, 10 million when you count gotaways, illegal immigrants. Here's the thing nobody else wants to talk about. With supporting legal immigration, that to me means, well, every person coming to this country needs to be vetted. They can't have radical ties or associations. We need to know that before they come here. We need to know, give them a health check in the middle of a post-pandemic world. We need to make sure they won't be a financial burden on the American people. I think very simple stuff.
You know, I'm not really paid attention to a lot of this stuff in the past, you know. I think a lot of people hasn't because we didn't know. But it's good to see people, famous people, regular people, states step up to this. They're opening people's eyes to what's really going on. They're stepping up, and I like this. If that makes sense. Like, yeah, a lot of people is like, yeah, no, we're taking our country back. And I love it to see it. Fuck you, Biden.
We have people coming from Iran, Syria, Egypt, Afghanistan, China, and Russia, in tens of thousands combined from those countries. Why do you think they're coming to our southern border? And what are the odds that there are terror cells among that large group of people?
We would be incredibly narcissistic to assume that these people are coming in here just because they're in the neighborhood. They're coming in here with an agenda, Sean. Between 2010 and 2020, it's estimated that 1,100 Chinese came across the southern border. In the first 11 months of 23, it's estimated that 33,000 came across, and many of them military-age men. Now, where did they go once they came across the border? We have no idea. They're not being monitored. They're not being followed. And look, in China, you don't just decide, you know what, I think I'll take a trip. They have to go through certain steps to get out of China. It costs a lot of money to get here. And when they get here, what are they doing? If they're working in farming, if they're working in industry, I'll promise you they are expected to do certain things. Are they spying? Are they sending seeds back from farming to China? Are they getting plans from industries they're working on? Who knows what they're doing? We don't know, and we need to know. And the guards tell me, and I talked to so many of them down there, they said, we're not trying to close the border. What we want to know is who, why, and what. Who's coming in here? Why are they coming? And what is their business? And we have the right to know that, to control who's coming into this country. And as I said, you don't reward bad behavior. You don't subsidize things that you don't want to see more of. But that's what's happening. And there's an interesting thing that really shocked me, Sean. If they run into someone in a brown uniform, that's a Texas Department of Public Safety border guard, they get arrested, they get put in jail, and they get returned. If they run into a green uniform, that is a federal, they get money and a court date that's 7 to 10 years down the road, and they get released into the country. So you see these groups coming across, and if they see a brown uniform, they hide. They see a green uniform, they run towards it. And that, to me, is just insane that we have that kind of difference going on down there with guys working side by side.
I really give you a lot of credit. I mean, you've spent the time, you went down there, you talked to the people on the front lines. Mark my words, Dr. Phil, and I pray to God that I'm wrong, that I can one day say I was wrong. Among the 10 million or so illegal, unvetted Joe Biden immigrants, I guarantee you terror cells have mixed among that group, and they're not coming here because they want a better life for themselves or their family. And he will then have blood on his hands. That's a national security disaster, a clear and present danger. Dr. Phil, thank you. Great to have you back. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to
Man, yes, I agree with that conversation. I love to hear Dr. Phil's take on stuff. This one here says Trump is on a path to mop the floor of Biden. Let's watch that. I have no clue what it's about, but that's interesting. Y'all know I love my Trump.
Former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy is with us. Sir, great to have you back. Let me start first with this issue about Biden. Biden comes out at this hastily called news conference. You saw it, I saw it, and he's mad and he's furious that special counsel Hur pointed out that he didn't even remember the year he became vice president, when he started, when it finished, on numerous occasions, and that he didn't even remember within a few years when his son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? His words. Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. They never asked.
Well, look,
he brought it up on his own.
On one hand, you have a president who they say is too senile to stand trial. Well, on the other hand, they say he's perfectly fine to run the United States of America. Those two things can't make sense at the same time. But I want to point out something, Sean, which is that we have known about Biden's senility and mental frailties for a long time. The fact that the mainstream media and even the Democratic establishment is now picking up on this signals to me that they are getting ready to move him out of the way. And precisely because Donald Trump is on the path to mop the floor with Joe Biden this fall. I think he is. That's why I think there's a very good chance it's not going to be Joe Biden. So we have to be skating to where the puck is going, not just where it is. One step ahead. We can fall into the temptation of thinking the Democratic Party is as sillily stupid as Joe Biden appears to be on a given day. That's actually not the case. They're actually one step ahead, and I believe they are planning to replace Joe Biden quietly. And I think this is just one more step in leading us there for us to be prepared to really have a much more competitive race this fall than it appears at the margin.
Listen, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, you can't have somebody this cognitively compromised. By the way, a credit to this show. We've been pointing it out since the last election. And by the way, back then he looks lucid and with it compared to where he is today. The decline has been that significant. We've shown people the tape. If you believe that, then who is likely to replace him?
Look, I think they have a major Kamala Harris problem because this is a party that has tied its very identity to identity politics. She only got the job, let's be very honest, because of her race and gender. I know you're not supposed to say that, but it's the truth. And so if they're going to move Joe Biden out of the way, but they don't want Kamala Harris in that seat.
Democratic identity politics. That's absolutely that is a known fact.
That's the core. And they know that Kamala Harris cannot be the nominee. And so they have to have somebody who checks off one of those identitarian boxes. So that's why I think it's not going to be Gavin Newsom, whether it's Michelle Obama to Hillary Clinton to somebody else. It has to be somebody who checks off their temple of identity politics box. But I do think that is where we're headed. And it's important for Republicans not to be complacent. Right now, President Trump would run laps around Joe Biden. This could be a Reagan-style landslide. You look at that survey of independent voters and that focus group that tells you the same story I am seeing across this country, which is precisely because why I believe they're going to actually change it to someone other than Biden by the time we get to this summer.
Okay. Now, I have no reason not to believe David Axelrod, but he was pretty strong in his statement saying Michelle's not running. Okay. That then brings up the Gavin Newsom issue. I've interviewed him. I have pressed him. I pressed him in the debate with Governor DeSantis on the issue of if he'd run. He's been very clear that he's not next in line, that the person that would be next in line would be the Vice President Harris. Okay, so how do you push her out of the way and maybe go to Gavin if he would take it? I'm taking him at his word that he said he really wouldn't take it. Then you got to look at Gretchen Whitmer. It's interesting that they are pushing out a book, is my understanding, over the summer. That seemed to be kind of spontaneous. You think maybe she's been talked to or spoken to by people?
Well, the reality is even Hillary Clinton is now lightly criticizing Joe Biden. God knows she wants the job. I don't necessarily take David Axelrod at his word. I do think that it may not even be Michelle Obama's choice. The idea that just because she doesn't want to run doesn't mean they're going to make her the nominee, I think are two separate and different questions. But whatever it is, Sean, this is our moment to get ahead of that curve, not to play a guessing game. I think the Republicans right now have an opportunity to own the message of national unity. Seal that border. Democrat or Republican, most Americans agree on its importance. Black or white, man or woman, it doesn't matter. We agree. nations have borders, merit beats DEI, that we got to drill more, frack more, own the actual issues that allow us to unite this country. And the more we get ahead of that curve, the more we say that we own the message of national unity, not Joe Biden, who claimed to unite the country, but we, the Republican Party, do to make America great again. We have to make America one nation again, that America first includes all Americans. The more we embrace that message in advance, the less it matters if it's Michelle Obama or Hillary Clinton or anybody else. So I'm not a believer of waiting for the other side to make their decisions and then responding. Let's set our own agenda, national unity as our own message. I think Donald Trump has the ability to deliver on that. And that way, either way, he will be victorious this fall, as I am keen to make sure we accomplish.
I mentioned the nearly 10 million unvetted Joe Biden illegal immigrants coming from our top geopolitical foes, tens of thousands of them from these countries. And Biden and even Mitt Romney find their comments repulsive. Biden saying that House Republicans should reject Trump's dangerous, quote, un-American pro-Putin stance on Ukraine. No, it's not a pro-Putin stance to say that this is the biggest national security threat, your wide open borders that is allowing people from Iran, Egypt, Syria, Afghanistan, China, and Russia into the country. Sorry, secure the border, get your budget in balance. Then we can talk about aid. First, I talk about Israel. Ukraine already got $75 billion. And we cannot be fighting a proxy war with Vladimir Putin and Russia unless maybe we want Russia to get more aggressive. That is a potential outcome also.
Well, look, I think that we are marching closer to World War III than we ever have been in my lifetime, driving Russia further into China's arms, which unfortunately nobody in either party is really talking about. But you're right. The top threat we face is the invasion, and I will call it that. The invasion at our own southern border. If that disaster can happen on October 7th in Israel, it could happen right here at home in the United States of America. And God forbid we learn that the hard way. So this should not be a Democrat versus Republican issue. And this idea that we need a new law, Sean, is also a farce. Remain in Mexico is currently technically the law of the land. You just have Biden and Mayorkas refusing to actually enforce the law. So that's where I want to see Republicans in both the House and the Senate actually stand with a spine to say that it's not just how much more money you send to the border. It is a demand that as table stakes for even having any other discussion about foreign aid, we have to make sure we are enforcing the laws that are already on the books. We don't need new laws. We need a new president who actually enforces the law. That's not Joe Biden. It's going to be Donald Trump. But until then, Republicans have to make that demand of this administration enforcing the law before there's even a conversation about any foreign aid package. That's where we need to go.
Yeah. Vivek Ramaswamy, thank you for being with us as always. We have a new poll tonight. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Man, everybody know Trump got this. Trump got this. Where was that? Hold on just a second. Anybody still there? I'm getting it here. Just a second. I'll listen to something. From my man Trump. This was 2 years ago. I don't know, this just caught my attention. Let's see. I know I'm all over the place. Oh, you're good, Jay. Go to sleep, bro, if you want to. I get it. I'm about ready to get off here myself. I'm gonna watch this little clip. It's not very long, like 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna be done probably myself. 10 minutes. Like I said, this was from 2 years ago.
Do you guys want to be successful or don't you care? Okay, you better believe it. Sometimes in life, to be successful, oftentimes, most of the time, you have to follow your instincts. You have to follow your gut. You have to. In life, in order to be successful, and you people are well on the road to success, you have to find out what makes you excited, what makes you want to get up each morning and go to work. You have to find it. I was no different when I was 20 years old, believe me. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to get out of Brooklyn. I said, Pop, I love you, but I want to get out of Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn, but I want to get out. And I'd see those big buildings, those big skyscrapers in Manhattan. I said, Pop, that's what I want to do. That's what I wanted to do. I love taking things and fixing, taking things and building. I love building. You can do anything. You can be anything you want to be. But in order to succeed, you must find out what you love to do. You have to find your passion, no matter what they tell you. They said, there is no path to victory for Donald Trump. They forgot about the forgotten people. By the way, they're not forgetting about the forgotten people anymore. They're going crazy trying to figure it out. But I told them, far too late. It's far too late. You have to have an ability to handle pressure, because no matter how successful you are, I have many, many friends and enemies, a lot of enemies too, I don't care. And people that can handle pressure can be entrepreneurs, can be successful. Now, I have some friends that are really, really smart, but they can't handle pressure, in which case they should work for somebody, do great, and have a good life. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you can't handle pressure, you have to know that about yourself. You have to know that about yourself. So, handle pressure. If you can't, that's okay. Some people, they say, I've got to be successful. I've got to be. They'll never be successful. It's too crazy. They can't think straight. You have to remember, it doesn't matter. God matters. Your family matters. You've got to be able to sort of say to yourself, nothing matters that much other than the real big deals. I used to love going to Sunday school. People don't know this about Trump. They think, oh, Trump, Trump. But the truth is, I went to Sunday school, and I loved going to Sunday school. And I did for years, and I learned a lot. And I learned about God, and that was probably the greatest thing I've ever learned. Forget all the business stuff. Never cease to be proud of who you are and the principles you hold dear and stand by. Wear your values as your badge of honor. Go out, have a great time in life, compete, remember your duty, honor your history, take care of the people God put into your life. And if you refuse to give in to doubt or to fear, and you will win, and help people in doing so. If you love what you do and dedicate yourself to your work, then you will gain momentum. And look, you have to. You need the word momentum. You will gain that momentum. And each success will create another success. I'll tell you a story that's very interesting for me. When I was young, there was a man named William Levitt, and he was a very successful man. He'd build homes, and at night he'd go to these major sites with teams of people, and he'd scour the sites for nails and sawdust, and they'd clean the site so when the workers came in the next morning, the sites would be spotless and clean. And he did it properly. And he did this for 20 years, and then he was offered a lot of money for his company. And he sold his company for a tremendous amount of money. And he went out and bought a big yacht. And the company that bought his company was a big conglomerate. And they didn't know anything about building homes, and they didn't know anything about picking up the nails and the sawdust and selling it and the scraps of wood. This was a big conglomerate based in New York City. And after about a 10-year period, they were losing a lot with it. So they called William Levitt up, and they said, would you like to buy back your company? And he said, yes, I would. He so badly wanted. He got bored with this life of yachts and sailing and all of the things he did in the south of France and other places. He bought back his company, and he bought back a lot of empty land. And he worked hard on getting it zoning, and he worked hard on starting to develop. And in the end, he failed, and he failed badly. Lost all of his money. He went personally bankrupt. And I saw him at a cocktail party. And it was very sad because the hottest people in New York were at this party. And I see, sitting in the corner, was a little old man who was all by himself. Nobody was talking to him. I immediately recognized that that man was the once great William Levitt of Levittown. And he explained what was happening and how bad it's been and how hard it's been. And I said, what exactly happened? Why did this happen to you? And he said, Donald, I lost my momentum. A word you never hear when you're talking about success. When some of these guys that never made 10 cents, they're on television giving you things about how you're going to be successful. And the only thing they ever did was a book and a tape. It was very sad, and I never forgot that moment. And I thought about it. And it's exactly true. He lost his momentum. In life, I always tell this to people, you have to know whether or not you continue to have the momentum. And if you don't have it, that's okay. Because you're going to go on, and you're going to learn, and you're going to do things that are great. But you have to know about the word momentum. Always have passion. You've got to have passion for your family, for your life, for your church, for whatever it is. You've got to have that passion. You've got to just love it. I would always say to people, and I'd see people, and I'd say, you got to love what you do. Because, you know, if you love what you do, you work harder. And I've seen so many instances where people with great talent went into things that they didn't love, and they failed. I've seen people that are super genius, but they don't have that gut feeling. They don't have that stick-to-itiveness, that never quit. And I've seen people that almost made it and failed because they couldn't go that extra mile. But when you do something that you love, you'll never fail. What you're going to do is give it a shot again and again and again. You're ultimately going to be successful. And remember this, you're not working. When you do something that you love, remember this, it's not work. So you'll work 24/7. You're going to work all the time. And at the end of a year, you're not really working. You don't think of it as work. When you're not doing something that you like, that's called work. And it's hard work and tedious work. So as much as you can, do something that you love, work hard, and never ever give up, and you're going to be tremendously successful. Tremendously successful. Work hard, get in the game, play to win, and most of all, have a good time, have fun. Your lives will have meaning and purpose and joy. You will become leaders, and you will inspire others to achieve the dreams they once thought were totally impossible. Things that you said could never, ever happen are already happening for you. When natural disaster strikes, when people face hardship, you learn the rewards of hard work and perseverance. Never, ever give up, never quit. Persevere, never, ever quit. You learn to contribute to your communities, to take pride in your nation, and to seek out opportunities to serve. You also learn to believe in yourself, so important, to have confidence in your ability, and to take responsibility for your own life. When you face down new challenges, and you will have plenty of them, develop talents you never thought possible, you discover that you can handle anything. Many of life's most valuable lessons are learned on the field of competition. Well, the value of patience and perseverance, hard work and determination, builds character, forges friendships, tears down barriers, and brings people from all walks of life closer together. And the ability to overcome adversity, making lifelong friends all along the way. They really have to be learned and lived on the field of practice with lots of sweat, lots of hard work, and lots of determination. There's no better feeling than an achievement that you've earned with your own sweat, tears, resolve, hard work. There's nothing like it. Do you agree with that?
World getting crazy, baby, chill. Don't medicate, just meditate. You waking up now, well, baby, you hella late. Educate, look at what's going on, let it resonate, accelerate. Find your inner hunger like you never ate. Agenda is to push the hate, separate and segregate. Don't celebrate quite yet, the storm is coming, Q, for heaven's sake. Violence that they demonstrate, instigate and penetrate the values of our country, and our God is what they desecrate. My fighters ain't no featherweight, pulling out the seams of the fabric that they fabricate. They feed us lies, manipulate, intimidate through fear and force, forcing us to sit and wait until we come together, congregate, and then we liberate. Praying that you give me strength to find some love amongst the hate. Marching on these streets of blood till I see the golden gates. Troubadour and troubled souls, one of God's servants. Blades out, cut the grass till we see the serpents.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
I know the truth is hard to swallow, just digest it. Suspected something's going on, but chose to just neglect it. Deflected by some breaking news, or we just accept it. Expected just to fall in line and follow their perspective. Don't question their objective, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the testament, these children are protected. So I'm fighting all these terrorists, both foreign and domestic. Refuse to be directed, blind, not a sheep. Only kneel to my God, so I'm dying on my feet. Silence when we speak, but there's violence in the street. I've been rolling with the punches, I can't take it on the cheap. Drink from a glass half full, I'm optimistic. People are sadistic, so vicious and malicious. Praying for assistance to overcome opposition, or I'm gonna start resisting, and then I'll pray for forgiveness.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. Need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now. We need you now. We need you now. One day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. Need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.